Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For item 3.1, we have Broward County Schools here. We have School Board Member Daniel Fogenholy with the future of our schools, and this item is sponsored by Commissioner James. Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just before School Board Member Fogenholy comes down, I just want to remind everyone that's listening that we have 2 community meetings that are coming up to discuss the future of our schools and to really get input from our residents and the parents and the guardians that this is going to impact. Is hosted by myself, School Board Member Fogenholy, and Superintendent Licata. April the 10th, 6 p.m. at Addicts, and then April the 15th, 6 p.m. at Collins Elementary School. Thank you, School Board Member.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Commissioner, and good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, City Managers. My name is Daniel Fogenholy, and I am the proud representative for District 1 on the Broward County School Board. I have the honor of representing the great city of Dania Beach. Thank you for having me. Here I have joining me, I have Principal Giancarlo from Awesome Olsen Middle School. And I wanted to highlight some things, and I appreciate Commissioner James for giving me a friendly nudge to show up to the commission meeting. So yes, I should be here more often to say hello. But I wanted to share some wins before I get into redefining our district and what we're looking forward to on the Broward, School Board. I really wanted to share some wins of different things that we're seeing in our district. I wanted to give a shout out to Dania Elementary. Elementary school is actually going and celebrating the 111th anniversary and their birthday. And Dania Elementary being the oldest school site in Broward County and 2 years older even than the county itself. So I wanted to give them a shout out. Currently, right now, we're going through a number of different things in the school. Painting, all our schools are on a list to get painted on the exterior. We're working on the entrances of our schools to make sure that they look presentable, but also add a layer of security for our kids and when they come in. So there's blind spots from the outside, but we can see from the inside. We're working on that. I also want to give Principal Giancarlo an opportunity to talk about the great things happening at Olsen Middle.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Attorney, City Manager, and City Clerk. I'm Janet Giancarlo. I'm the proud principal at Awesome Olsen Middle School. We have a lot of great things happening in our school. I'd like to begin by saying we have a big increase in our enrollment. In October, we had 558 students. We're currently up to 645. So we're very proud of that increase that we have. We have a lot of programs that we have in place. We have our ICANN Magnet Academy that hosts 5 different academies that afford students the opportunity to learn about hospitality and tourism, marine science and robotics, education, music conservatory, and business as well. We're working on adding more programs to our school. Next year, we will be transitioning to a block schedule, which will afford our students the opportunity to take 8 classes instead of 6, and that also allows them to have more elective opportunities. At Awesome Olsen, our construction project is almost coming to an end. We have added a lot of beautification around our campus. I'm trying to think of what else I have to share because we have so much. Today, we had the opportunity to participate in our mentoring program with Commissioner Davis called Pearl Girls, and our students who are part of that program were at Ulta for a morning of not just beauty lessons, but also camaraderie and supporting one another as female students. I'm trying to think of what else I have here, but we do have an 8th grade student who is being recognized by the Magnet Schools of America. Her artwork was selected and received 3rd place there.
Shown in conference in New York City.
and will be shown at the Magnet School of America's conference in New York City. We do have an attendance incentive program that we are working on with the REACH organization, and it has shown a significant increase in our attendance. In September, we had 59 students with perfect attendance. In October, it was about 77. And when the program started on October 25th, by the time the end of November came around, we had 155 students with perfect attendance. So that is a significant impact. And the students with perfect attendance do receive a Chick-fil-A gift card, and that is a great incentive for our middle school students. You know, everybody loves Chick-fil-A.
That's all it takes.
It's all it takes
Free food.
to get them to be on time and in attendance all day, every day. But we really enjoy being part of the Dania Beach community. We were at the Collins Elementary 65th anniversary, and we just look forward to making our school part of the Dania Beach community. I don't want to say our tagline, but the way we market our school is to say that we are an inclusive boutique middle school in the heart of Dania Beach that's committed to providing a personalized educational experience. So that is what we have at Awesome Olson. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Principal Giancarlo. I guess that's all of it. Thank you. She shared all the wins. This is amazing. But no, I just want to say thank you for everything you do, and thank you for leading our, Olson Middle. And that's one of the things that was said, which is very important, right? Olson Middle is experiencing something that most schools in our district is not: enrollment going up. Across our district, we're seeing enrollment go down drastically. Like, we have a lot of seats empty in our district, and that's something that we've been talking about on the Broward County School Board, to redefine our schools and repurpose our schools, and having that conversation. So we as a board directed the superintendent to repurpose 5 schools and to let us know what schools and what the plan is this year. So of course, everybody panics when they hear that, because if anybody hears repurposing or closing schools, our communities get nervous. And yes, that is my beautiful daughter in the crowd yelling. Sorry about that. That's the boss. But of course, it's important for us to have that discussion, for us to understand it's an open dialogue with our community, to know what the plan is, for us to communicate, but for our community to be heard. So for us, it's important that we have that. We have had town halls across our district. We've had 3 altogether, one in the north, one in the central, one in the south. But having conversations with Commissioner James, we felt like it wasn't enough. We wanted to have more conversations right here in District 1, right here in Dania Beach. That is the reason why we were talking about these town halls for us to have together, but for our community to have that conversation. Because we will let it be known the history that's in Dania Beach and our schools. We will know the history of Hollywood, Hollandale, to understand how important that is in going into this next phase that we do as a Broward County School Board. So really wanted to show that out there. Thank you so much for having me, but we really want to promote that to our community, to have everybody come out there, share your thoughts, understanding those next steps of what's going to happen with repurposing. Right now, we should know, hopefully, the names by the next May board meeting from the superintendent of what schools we will be looking at to repurpose. So thank you so much for having me. So it will be in May, our next May board meeting.
Okay.
Commissioner James?
Yes. Thank you again, and I'm gonna put you in a hot seat just a little bit.
Oh, that's fine.
And so I just want to be sure that we are understanding what's happening here in Dania Beach when you're discussing things at the school board level of the amount of development. And I think it would be beneficial for you to get some of those numbers either through Maxine or through our community development of how many new units we have gotten in new construction over the past several years, and how many in the next 5 years that are going to be developed. Because if we're talking just about closing or merging any of our schools, we only have a few here in Dania Beach that are in the heart of a lot of the communities and residential areas. We are going to not have places for our kids to go. And when it comes down to, Collins Elementary, and the historic value that's there, and understanding that that school was donated to the school board, and we are about to break ground on a $22 million facility that is right across the street. So there is an investment piece that is there that the school board isn't even footing that type of a bill. And so just need you to really be a champion for our schools here in Dania Beach. I know you have a large task for all of them in District 1, but Dania Beach, Dania Beach, Dania Beach, thank you.
Of course. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions?
Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Board Member Foganholey and Ms. Giancarli. I had the privilege of meeting you both when you first came into the district, and I can say what a difference it has made, especially at Olson Middle School. You have come in, and we were very attached to our previous principal, and but you have come in there, and you know each and every one of the students. You make sure that their Crocs are on the right way and in sports mode, and their phones are put away, and they know you and they love you, and we want to just say thank you for being a great partner. Board Member Foganholey, you've been there from the beginning, and so that's what this is about. It's about community. It is about us being partners and supporting one another, and it is all about Dania Beach as far as we're concerned up here, but I want to thank you for being so willing to come out, to communicate, to show up, and to be there for our students in our community, because it makes a difference with the children, especially with the REACH program and bringing that attendance program and incentivizing them to come each and every day and prepared. And thank you for coming out today, Principal Giancarli, and helping our kids and our girls to love the skin they're in. So thank you for what you do each and every day.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Board Member Foganholey. Thank you, Principal Giancarli.
Thank you.
What is that, April 10th and April 15th? Yeah, April 10th at Addix and April 15th at Collins.
Yes, thank
We
you.
have a town hall meeting at 6 p.m.? All right. Wonderful. Thank you guys very much. Anything else?
Thank you.
No, that's
All
all.
right.
Thank you guys so much.
All right. Item 3.2 is a presentation from Mayor Frank C. Orders. I know he's not here, but Vice Mayor Llewellyn would still like to say some words.
We're actually going to do the presentation to him, I think, at the next meeting.
Okay.
So I'll hold off till then. But just to let people know, I wanted to give Mayor Ordus a little gift. He just finished about 30 years of public service and just retired. He's been the mayor of Pembroke Pines. He's been involved in Florida League of Cities. He's been involved in the MPO. He's been the chair for the MPO for several years, and just wanted to give him an opportunity to so that we could say thank you to him for his public service, because as we all know, this is not something that's taken lightly. So, and he's dedicated a good part of his life to it. So, but I will save more of that for when he's here next week. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it tonight. So, next time.
Okay. Thank you. Item 3.3, this is FCCMA honoring Dania Beach, celebrating 75 years of commission manager governance. And this comes from the city manager's office.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will defer it to our representative who's here today.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Ryan, City Commissioners, City Manager Garcia, and staff and residents of Dania Beach. My name is Sarah Hannah Spurlock, and I've been involved in local government here in South Florida for about 20 years. Tonight, I'm here representing the Florida City County Management Association. FCCMA is a professional organization of 626 practicing public administrators from throughout Florida local governments. The association was chartered in 1946 as a nonprofit corporation to elevate professionalism among the state's 478 cities and counties, and to promote the commission manager form of government as the form that advances the highest ethical and professional standards. Our Professional Management Matters Committee is charged with recognizing city milestones and accomplishments throughout the state of Florida. On behalf of FCCMA, I am privileged to present the City of Dania Beach with a certificate celebrating your 75th year as a Commissioner Manager form of government as recognized by the International City Management Association, ICMA. On behalf of the officers, Board of Directors, and membership of FCCMA, we offer our sincere congratulations on this milestone achievement. The Commission Manager form of city and county government was created to help separate administration from direct political influence and establish merit-based practices within city local government. It is modeled after a corporation's framework with voters, the stakeholders, selecting a commission board, like a board of directors, who in turn appoint a manager, a professional executive, to advise the commission and implement its actions through ordinances and policies. In Florida, nearly 70% of all 411 cities, towns, and villages operate under the commission manager form of government. And of the 67 counties in the state, all but 2 are professionally managed. At this time, I would like to present the City Commission, the mayor, and the city manager with this certificate. You wouldn't mind taking a picture with me?
Yeah. We're gonna find a nice spot for this in City Hall. Item 3.4 is next. This is stormwater revenue sufficiency and discussion on capital funding. This is a finance item.
Good evening, Frank DiPaolo, Chief Financial Officer. Hello, everyone. We have, basically, you know that we have a lot of needs in the stormwater and our drainage infrastructure. And last year, we looked at making an increase to the stormwater assessment. And we pulled back and we determined that, let's take a look at our assessment program, take a look at the methodology, and let's come up with a broad, long-term comprehensive plan for the entire stormwater infrastructure. So we hired Raftelis Financial Consultants. They conducted a study of our stormwater rates, and they produced a report, and they're here tonight just to give you a brief overview of their findings and the services that they conducted for the city. So we have Tristan Townsend and Joe Williams. They're going to speak to you momentarily, and then after that, we hope to have a brief discussion for the stormwater financing plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Good evening, commissioners. I'm Joe. This is Tristan. We're from Raftelis. And we're going to take you through a high-level presentation of our approach and findings. So you'll see a few key items that we're going to talk you through. And to start off with the scope that Frank reached out to us about, we're developing a 5-year financial forecast, reviewing your capital plan. You have some major capital improvements identified, so making sure those can be funded, and what it looks like in terms of rate adjustments over time to accommodate that. And we did review your current rate methodology. We have a slight change recommended for certain properties, and we're here presenting, documenting our findings. And so some key assumptions. There's about $40 million currently, over $40 million identified for stormwater improvements. And we're looking at upwards of a $30 million bond issuance to really kick off the funding there. And talking about as we'll show you in a few slides, the capital improvements and then the ultimate rate adjustments to accommodate that program. And one item to note is that you have a stormwater master plan being completed right now that's in process. And it will be finished probably later this year, and it'll identify future projects that may be needed in the stormwater system beyond fiscal year 2020, beyond the next 2 years. I'll let Tristan tell you about capital improvement program.
Okay, thanks, Joe. So on the table up here, you all can see the projects that we've assumed in the forecast. It's going to total for about $41.6 million. These projects are going to be installation and improvement of stormwater capital in the city and vulnerable areas, things like replacing deteriorated piping, putting in piping with increased capacity, mitigating backflow in different areas, and installing new drains, inlets, things like that. So these are going to be primarily funded from 3 different areas, either the utility operating reserves, grants, or the revenue bond that Joe mentioned previously. And like he said before, there's a master plan that's currently underway, and so that's going to identify future additional projects. They're not yet known, and so those are going to be after FY24 and 25. So these are just projects for the current and the next fiscal year. And so these are the assumptions that are for that revenue bond. They're kind of detailed out there. It's going to result in an annual debt payment of about $1.85 million. And the construction proceeds from that is going to give you about $30 million in funding for capital projects. And those construction proceeds are going to include about $3.3 million for some of the future projects that are going to be identified in the master plan, just to help you guys be able to start executing those things right away. So the revenue sufficiency forecast, your existing stormwater fees are basically collected through the assessment. It's an annual rate per ESU of $60, which is equivalent to about $5 per month. An ESU is an equivalent stormwater unit. That's something that's defined in the stormwater ordinance, and it's based on the impervious area of a typical single-family property. And so that's what's defined in your ordinance is 1,836 square feet. And so there's 3 customer classes: single family, which all get assigned 1 ESU, condominiums and the common areas for condominiums, those are going to be measured impervious area, and that's how the ESUs are allocated. And then all other properties, it's also going to be based on the measured impervious area. That's how the ESUs are allocated. And so based on, how the fees are getting applied and the assumed operating expenses and the debt service related to the capital, revenues are not going to be sufficient starting in FY 2025. There's going to be, as you can see in the chart, the operating expenses are in the dark blue. The light blue is the debt service. Once that debt service kind of kicks on, you're going to see that the red line is your revenues for the existing rates. That's not going to be sufficient in order to, fund all of your needs. So rate adjustments are going to be necessary to fund the new debt service, to maintain reserves, to address future or any kind of emergencies or anything like that, and then to also provide funding for the necessary ongoing and future capital needs. So Joe is going to talk to you a little bit more about what those adjustments are.
All right. And so to kind of take it to the end here, to do all the projects, issue the bonds, meet the debt covenants that come with issuing bonds, we're looking at an increase of $40 per year, so from $60 to $100 per, essentially for an equivalent single-family home. And that's about a $3.33 per month increase. We'll show you a comparison with other communities in a few slides here. And to show you the chart again with the dotted line going up, this is if you adopt the new rate of $100 starting in October of this year, 2024, to provide funding for that debt service, $1.8 million. And you see it does provide you a gap above those expenses, those known expenses. And so that's going to give you money for future ongoing capital and maintenance related needs that'll be eventually identified in your master plan. And lastly, this is a forecast of reserves in the stormwater fund. So you can see that each year it's building. And the real key here is that in 2026, 27, 28, there's no capital funded yet. That's going to be determined from your master plan. But by increasing the rate, doing the debt issuance, really doing those first few really big projects, you still have the capacity to do more with the stormwater fund. You're not just setting the rate at $100 to just do the first tranche. It gives you the ability to have continuing cash coming in, and you can reevaluate your needs depending on the results of the master plan. And for a local comparison, you can see the darker blue and the red arrows pointing to it. That's your current rates at about $5 per month, and the proposed rate going to $8.33. So you're very comparable to nearby other communities. And we work with a few of these other communities, and we know that there's going to be increases over time for them as well. So it puts you kind of right in the middle of the pack. And the rate structure adjustment, so your rate structure was adopted in 1996. It's been quite a while that it's been in place. And one recommendation that we're making is for certain DOR codes, which are assigned by the property appraiser, with certain building characteristics and adjustment to those, to be more in the single family class as opposed to being measured. And there's maybe some outliers between certain properties that are classified a certain way by the property appraiser as DOR code 01 versus those as DOR 04 or 05, where the building characteristics on the property are very similar. So this gives you an avenue to kind of bring them to be about the same. And then as you further evaluate your structure over time in the future, do more measurements and other evaluation, this kind of gives you that first step to bring those similar properties more closely related in how they're being charged for stormwater. And then findings and recommendations. So simply, we are recommending that you do the rate increase from $60 per year to $100 and issue a bond to really kickstart those big projects that have been identified as very necessary to address some of the biggest, I think, issue areas in the city. And then once that master plan, the stormwater master plan is completed, review the study again to look out beyond fiscal 25. So starting in October 2025, what type of projects are on the horizon, and are your rates at $100 going to be sufficient for funding those? Are you going to need additional debt, things like that? And then address the rate structure adjustments that we've identified. Okay. That's the end, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll start with you, Commissioner James.
Yes, thank you so much for the presentation. This was a big discussion that we had last budget season, or after the budget season, after the budget was approved, I'm sorry. You showed the numbers for the single families, and I'm looking at this recommended fee adjustment for the ESU, but I did not see it for the condos and townhomes. I need it in layman's terms, how much theirs would go up. The issue was last year, we had residents that weren't happy with how much of a gap they had to pay, and I didn't know that they had to pay that much of a gap. So can you give me an example of what a condo owner would be paying if a single family homeowner is going up $40? What would a condo, what is the fee schedule for condos?
Right, so if they're a condo, because we are recommending a rate structure change that will address certain properties that are classified as condos. That's part of the issue that we kind of discussed with staff, and we looked at the rate structure was underlying is that certain properties that are 2 stories and below that look similar to townhomes, but on the property appraiser, they're classified as condos, and so they fall into a different category from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones right now that are condos, so DOR code 04 or 05, if they're 2 stories or less, they're going to be moved into the single family category. They could see fee reductions.
So a townhome then, that's a 4 or 5. I still don't know what that means.
A townhome will see the same increase of $40 per unit.
And then a condo would not?
A condo,
I'm confused. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, so what you're speaking about, Commissioner, was last year we had a property that they were townhomes, but they're classified as a condominium. Since they're classified as a condominium, they're getting rated differently. They're getting rated like a large condo community. So in this case, those townhomes would be adjusted to 1, which is the same as what a single family home gets charged. So right now, some of them may be getting charged 2 or 3 times the rate, which is in accordance with our methodology. but we're looking at making a change in methodology to limit them down to 1 unit so that they're treated like a single-family home. But condos, real condos where there's, 3, 4 stories and like hundreds of units in a large piece of land, they'll still be treated like condos. Many of them actually pay less than 1 unit because they have retention on site, they have ponds, and they get credits for all that. So many of them are actually paying less than 1. So, but for the ones that are paying like multiples of 1 that look like a townhome, they're gonna be adjusted to 1.
So everyone is gonna be adjusted to either 1 or lower. I just wanna be clear
Not
on that.
everyone, but ones that we have to look at certain communities where there may be an issue, and we're going to make those adjustments. And that will be presented to you when we actually bring forward the methodology in the summer in July. We're going to be recommending those changes, those specific changes, and then we'll make the updates on the tax roll.
Okay, I just wanna be clear whenever you bring it back to break down every type of property. I don't want the same issue that we had last year.
Nor do we.
Thank you.
Commissioner Salvino?
Yes, Frank, I got a question for you. Looking at the numbers that you had talked about going from $30 to $40 million on the bond that we're getting, how did it go up $10 million in a year's time?
So what we have is, you're all familiar with the southeast drainage phases 1 and 2. We actually had to break it in 2 phases because the cost escalated so much. It's actually about a $33 million project. Phase 1 came in bid at around $16.8 million.
And when was that bid brought in?
A couple months ago.
Okay.
Phase 2 is estimated at $16.8 million. So you have $33 million right there. Now we have $10 million in grants. We have $10.7 million in grants. So for phase 1, we have about a $6 million funding gap that we have to cover. We don't have sufficient funding in the stormwater reserves to pay for that. Then you have phase 2. It's another almost $17 million. Then you have a number of other projects that are either in the planning stages now for design or that are going to be designed in the next year, and they have to start. So when we add all that up, it's about $41 million of projects. And some of that can be funded through the grant. Some of it can be funded with a little bit of reserve, but the majority of it, that's why we're asking for a $30 million revenue bond. And if we don't do that, there's no Southeast Phase 2. We could possibly do something to get Phase 1 done, but then we won't have funds to do any other drainage projects in the city, nor Phase 2, Southeast, or anything else. And we'd be back here in a year going through this all over again, trying to figure out what to do.
Okay, I was just curious because I thought that when we were working on all the drainage issues that we were gonna get enough bond to I saw on the paper, there's like 5, of the thing you had there, 5 projects, and right now we're only basically funded for 1. And going into the second one, partial the second one, is that right?
Can you say that again,
I
please?
said there was 5 projects that were on the list that I think they showed us earlier. And right now you have phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1, and you said there's 16 million or 14, whatever it was, and then there's not enough to even start on the other phase yet.
Correct.
So I'm saying, we still have 3 other projects that won't get funded.
Correct.
Okay, I thought that we had discussed when we had that meeting a while back that we were gonna get a bond that was gonna cover all the promises we made on all the drainage issues.
That's what we're here talking about right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And the plan, if I may, we have a financing plan, which is we need the $30 million. We also need to start on Southeast Phase 1, which is we're planning to put a shovel in the ground in May. In order to do that, we need to have the funds on hand. We have a $6 million funding gap. So we reached out to Truist Bank, that's our banking partner with the city, and they've offered us a term sheet for a 12-month revolving credit line just to have the funds available until we issue the bond to reimburse the $6 million. So basically, we just want to make sure we have the liquidity to get started with the project and issue a PO so we can put a shovel in the ground while we work on the bond issue, which will take about 4 to 6 months. We'll have the money by the end of the fiscal year in the bank and be able to reimburse if we have to draw money off the credit line, and then have the funds available for phase 2. We can actually, if we move forward with this plan, if we get your commitment tonight to do that, then we can start bidding on phase 2 relatively soon. And we have to have both of those projects done by 2026 because we have other grants that we're getting that are dependent on us completing the project. So
I got you.
So we're really trying to keep everything on a timeline, and this is really the only way to make it work.
Okay, thank you, Frank.
You're
Appreciate it.
welcome.
Anybody else? Yes, Commissioner James?
So you said if we move forward on this plan tonight, as in everything that was presented?
So what we're asking for tonight is first of all, based on the plan that was presented, the report by our consultants, that 2 things. We want to work on the credit line. and we can get that closed by April 30th. I would need to bring back a resolution on April 9th, and then we can move forward to closing on that. That's relatively quick and pretty painless. The second part is working on the revenue bond, and we would also bring back a resolution on April 9th to get that process started, because that is a little bit more of a lengthy process. But really, the commitment here is that we're going to be able to raise the assessment to $40 to $100 in July to be adopted in the fall. Because if we start this process, then we have to follow through with all that.
Okay, so then I'm not comfortable until I see those other numbers of that portion of it, because I don't know what that looks like. I mean, you know what that looks like, but someone like me or people who are listening, and we've been here before, I don't want to come back and have my hands forced to have certain properties have a 300% increase on their property assessments. That part I'm uncomfortable with. The rest of it I'm comfortable with, but not knowing what I'm in totality voting for, I'm not comfortable with that part of it. Is it a way that we can omit that part of it?
Which part of it?
The raised assess. I just don't want. I don't think that it's fair to raise someone that may live in a large community that is older and can't afford to have a $300 increase of an assessment rate.
Right. So what I would ask through Manager Garcia, if it's okay, that we have a budget workshop on April 8th, and we can bring back some data on which properties would be affected, which ones that we've already talked about with me and the consultants here, that they're aware of some of these. There's a few. It's not hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of properties. It's a very few small group of communities that were built a certain way that fall into this category. So we can bring you back those numbers that talk about a little bit more at the budget workshop. We have a lot more time to work things out. We'd still like to bring the plans back on April 9th, and if everything is okay on the 8th, then we can move forward on the 9th. It'll be on the agenda. If you don't feel comfortable, we can pull off whatever parts you want on the 9th. But just being that there's only one meeting in April, and time really is of the essence on this, that's why we're trying to move it forward.
What I want to add, if I may, through the mayor, time is of the essence, not only to put the shovel in the ground in May for the largest project in the history of our city here in the Southeast, but time is also allowed us to see that prices on goods and services and materials, they just continue to go up. So the more time we wait to pull the trigger on something, particularly a project such as this, also puts us in a predicament with prices continuing to go up. So we're in a catch-22. At the very least, we've worked very hard to get 10 million out of the 16 million for phase one. We'd like to be able to close that gap on the 6 million that we're missing for phase one. Is that something that we can be moving forward with that, with the not to exceed 40, and then come back and give the commission what percentage or how many of these other households would need to go beyond the not to exceed 40, so they would have clarity on that?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, yeah, I understand that time is of the essence. I understand every day is something else that's going up, but I also need the transparency and I need the information to be able to make the best decision that I can make.
For sure.
And sleep well at night doing so. So you said it'll come back on the 8th and we can discuss it then?
If it's okay with you all.
I'm okay on the 8th. I thought you wanted it to move forward tonight.
Well, what we're asking for is if we can plan to bring it back on the 9th at the actual commission meeting, those legislation, with the discussion to take place on the 8th to work it out.
Okay, yes. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Do I have consensus from the commission? Okay, perfect.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 3.5, this is special event application, Lawrence Kids Walk in My Shoes. This is Park and Rec.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor Commission.
You're not.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor Commission. This is an outstanding organization through Lawrence Books. I know Commissioner Davis has worked with them before. They've gone through our special event process. Every single one of the departments has signed off, and we're just seeking your support to move forward.
Okay, do I have support? Yes, we do. You have consensus?
Thank you.
Commissioner James?
Yes, will US 1 be closed on any side of it? I looked at the route.
It's going down Federal Highway, correct? Come on down, girls.
Oh, you don't have to run. Please don't run.
They're gonna have officers with them to temporarily close the route. Sorry. They're gonna have officers with them to temporarily close the route.
Close both sides of.
No, just wherever they're walking. So they're gonna be going westbound on A1A, and then, sorry, yeah,
So it's A1A. It's not US1.
they're gonna be going north on US1.
North on US1.
Mhm.
Okay, because that's the area by the airport, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and then we're only closing a portion of that because that's a very busy intersection right
It
there.
is. They're gonna have the Florida State Troopers with them, so they're gonna be on the front end and the back end, and they're just gonna be wherever the walkers are.
Okay,
They're gonna go
they're
from
walking
City
on the road or
Hall-
on the sidewalk?
They're gonna be on the sidewalk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
But they're still gonna have troopers just because they expect it to be a smaller crowd, but it might go up.
Right. Okay.
This is just precaution.
No. It's on the sidewalk. It's
Yeah.
better than I
Yeah,
thought. It doesn't. And you just see the line on US1. You don't really
Yeah.
see a sidewalk. All right, Mayor. I make a motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, second from Commissioner Salvino. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Up to item 3.6, this is another special event application. Yeah, stay close, guys. This is for Florida Mega Market. This is Parks and Recreation.
Yes, this is another event that's gonna take place April 13th at the casino from 2 to 5. And all the departments have gone through it, working, with our main, Parks and Recreation and Special Events Division. And everybody has given us the thumbs up, and we just need your support to move forward.
Okay, Commissioner James.
Make a motion to approve item 3.6.
All right, I have a motion and I have a second from Commissioner Davis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes.
Thank
3.7, this is a request for proclamation approval for National Autism Acceptance Month. This is a presentation to the Dan Marino Foundation on April 7, 2024, and this is sponsored by Commissioner Joyce Davis.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We all are, except for, I think Commissioner James attended the Autism Awareness Month celebration at Dania Point, and this is just a renewal of that application to do a proclamation at the event, and seeking consensus to do so.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion for approval, second? Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. 3.8, this is a retroactive approval of proclamation, which is expression of sympathy for Deborah Simons. This is sponsored by Commissioner James.
Yes, a beloved member of the MLK Corporation passed away. We had our services this past Saturday, and I presented her with the support of the commission with a proclamation.
Okay, do I have a motion? Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're done with presentation of special event approvals. Now we're going on to proclamations. Item 4.1 is a Government Finance and Procurement Professionals Month of March. And so this is a finance item, this proclamation that I'll make for our finance office. Whereas the Florida Government Finance Officers Association and the National Institute for Government Procurement are two professional associations that cater to finance professionals such as those employed by the City of Dania Beach. And whereas the associations are dedicated to being a significant professional resource by providing opportunities through education, networking, leadership, and information. And whereas the FGFOA and NIGP, along with their member governmental organizations, acknowledge the importance of government finance and procurement professionals and the vital services they provide to our state, cities, and communities, and further recognize, support, and practice the public procurement values and guiding principles of accountability, ethics, impartiality, professionalism, service, and transparency. And whereas the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach recognizes that the City Finance Department plays a critical role in public service as stewards over citizens' shared financial resources and oversight of public funds expenditure, which make possible the services that are essential to the safety, livability, and vitality of the Dania Beach community. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City of Dania Beach Commission, I, Archibald John Ryan IV, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim March 2024 as Government Finance and Procurement Professionals Month in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, and I extend our appreciation to all government finance professionals throughout the state and here in the City of Dania Beach for their hard work, dedication, and leadership. Thank you to our finance team, procurement.
She's coming up to get it.
Come on, Frank, just come take it.
I'm gonna let Jamie Guzman, our Deputy Finance Director, do the honors.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, up next, this was brought forward to me by the staff, actually, about the Dania Beach Improvement Committee, and they said, you know, we've had a Dania Beach Improvement Committee here for 60 years, and it's very important to our city, and I guess before I read the proclamation, I'll just say that it started in 1964 as a small group of Dania Beach residents, and they came together to bring their community special character to the forefront. Through the years, funds were raised, streets cleaned, and flowers planted. Art and culture found a home, from antiques and modern sculptures, all thanks to passionate residents. And this is a proclamation on the office of the mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, whereas the Dania Beach Improvement Committee has been beatifying Dania Beach and is celebrating its 60th anniversary this year. Founded in 1964 as a branch of the Chamber of Commerce, it was made up of 20 people who lived or did business in Dania Beach. The committee started with 5 members, A.J. Ryan Sr., Frank Eby, Mrs. Marie Parker, Mrs. Will Labrie, and Mrs. Genevieve Ely, and currently has 18 active members. Whereas the Dania Beach Improvement Committee's sole mission was, and remains today, to raise money to improve the art and cultural role in the community. Through the years, funds were raised for various projects, including in 1990, trash was removed from Dania Beach Boulevard as part of the Adopt a Highway County program. Trees were Trees were brought in and planted around the city and at the beach. A street clock was installed at City Hall. A fountain was placed at the Nyberg Swanson House, and benches were placed at several parks, all thanks to passionate residents and supporters dedicated to keeping the small town charm of Dania Beach shining bright. And whereas yesterday and today, the Dania Beach Improvement Committee is at work looking for ways to raise dollars for the beatification of Dania Beach, while acting in the community's best interest to create an environment which leaves residents proud and visitors impressed. And whereas the Dania Beach Improvement Committee has pursued activities which create a more vibrant and enjoyable way of life in Dania Beach. These efforts have not only helped beatify the community, but also sharpened its identity and created a true sense of unity. And whereas today, the efforts of the Dania Beach Improvement Committee continue under a new generation of volunteers, making the city a better place to live, work, and play. Now, therefore, on behalf of the City of Dania Beach Commission, I, Archibald John Ryan IV, Mayor of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, do hereby proclaim March 26, 2024 as Dania Beach Improvement Committee's 60th Anniversary Day in the City of Dania Beach, Florida. And I thank the Dania Beach Improvement Committee for the outstanding work they continue to do in our city, and I do congratulate them on their 60th anniversary. So, I guess if you could all come up, accept the proclamation, we'll take a picture. Yeah, we can stand up here. Exactly. And then you guys have some words after. My cousin. Hey, Bo.
Hey, Bo. Jackie.
Come here, Presidente.
Yep. Debbie. Tony. Clyde. Whole crew up here. We all love Jean. How could you not love Jean? Hey.
Big old group. Okay. Okay, everyone look at me. Big smiles. 1, 2, 3. Keep your big smiles. I got it. Got the photo.
One for Mimi. Got it, Mimi?
All right.
Did you get it?
I'm not part of it. Oh, okay.
Give us some words. Give us some words. Yeah.
Somebody talk, somebody, Bo, somebody.
Who's who?
Oh, is he gonna talk?
All right. Mayor Ryan kind of gave us the long coverage on that, but good evening, everyone. My name is Coleman Ryan. I am proud to stand before you guys as the current president of the Dania Beach Improvement Committee, a committee that has been dedicated to the beautification of our city since 1964, a committee that was originally started by 5 Dania pioneers and has grown to our current membership today of 18, and a committee that you might have seen in orange vests on Dania Beach Boulevard picking up trash on Saturdays. As the city is always growing, changing, and with expansion, we're also putting forth the effort to do so and looking forward to show everybody our up-and-coming projects. And also with that, we are currently seeking new members that will have new ideas and that share the love of our beautiful city as much as we do. Thank you for the city for the proclamation, and we hope to see you guys all at our second annual fishing tournament on June 22nd. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Up next, we have administrative reports from Madam Manager Garcia. We'll start with her.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to go a little bit out of order because I wanted to announce this Dania Cutoff Canal Resilience Project that the city was awarded. The Broward County Dania Cutoff Canal Resilience Project is a Broward County project. It's part of a grant with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and part of the county's septic tank elimination program. This resiliency project is listed in the statewide flooding and sea level rise resiliency plan. And it was ranked 53 out of 198 projects identified. There's going to be great benefits to 75 of our local properties here in Dania Beach. And they will go from septic system and to sewer. And there will be exactly, the project will include construction of a pipeline, lift station, force mains, pipeline segments to replace the old septic tanks with a high risk of failure due to sea level rise, flooding, and storm surge. That has been a big issue. So this project will benefit our residents in the city of Dania Beach, and septic systems were not originally designed with the assumption that groundwater levels would rise gradually over time and as a result may not be functioning as they were originally designed for. So 75 of our homes will be part of this grant and it will be at zero cost to our residents. So we're very excited about that. The mayor and I were just discussing this yesterday. Want to also invite you all to our continuing series of Dania After Dark. Our next one is coming up April the 13th, and that is free admission and is blues and barbecue. So we're very, very excited, and that's going to have everything from a barbecue competition and barbecue tastings, live music. We're going to have a kid zone. We have free parking here at the garage. We also have free park and ride from the casino, which is one of our partners. So we look forward to seeing everybody at the Blues and Barbecue Saturday, April the 13th, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. I also wanted to let you know that due to the success of Dania After Dark, we're going to be exploring the possibility of the 2 additional floors and how much of that cost that would be, or if we can partner with one of the local businesses, one of the new residential units that are coming forward. At the last Dania After Dark, the Seafood Fest, it started at 4. Some of us got here by 5, and 1 hour into the event, the entire parking garage was full. So we just see this as a central art and entertainment district, and as we grow leading up to more and more events, that we may need those additional 2 floors, and the structure was built and designed to have 2 more floors. So we're going to look at all the possibilities and bring you back a full report on that. Very, very exciting, and I want to commend our city attorney that has worked very closely with Lucky Fish and also our community development department. Last week I was there, all the permits and everything that they needed from all the different agencies they were able to have by last month. So the construction is moving along very nicely. So we hope that by the end of this calendar year, or at the very least, very early in 2025, to have a brand new restaurant complementing the quarter deck that's there and all the great things that are happening at Ocean Park. I recently received communication from the External Affairs Manager for the Mars Pet Care, Better Cities for Pets, regarding our standing as a certified city for pets. And we do a lot of things, not just for our residents, but for our employees, and work very closely with Dania Points and local businesses. So people are able to bring their pets out to events. And because of the criteria that we have met, they have extended our official certification until 2027. So we're going to continue to work with this designation that will help us be able to get more grants and allow us to do more activities and enhance our existing dog parks and dog-friendly areas. Every year, we also work very closely with our Chief Human Resources Officer and our entire HR team to be able to promote more events that are aligned with retaining and recruiting and promoting the very best employees. And one of the things that I provided all of you, you have it there in a sealed envelope, is something that we started last year that we provide to all our employees and to all of you as well, that really have really helped our employees be able to seek and get grants, because it talks about the value of not just their compensation, but all the things that we do and all the things that have been approved by our mayor and commission. So we continue to align our words with action. In this document, I think that you will find it very, very beneficial. We're ready to move forward with the next and final step to be able to get that long-awaited shovel in the ground at C.W. Thomas Park. As a matter of fact, I met with one of our local residents that lives across the street from C.W. Thomas, and everybody's very, very excited. And as I mentioned to you all, the price of goods and services continue to go up. However, we have been able to work very closely with our Chief Finance Officer, our Parks Director, our City Attorney, our Deputy City Manager, and myself. And we have a guaranteed maximum price that will not exceed our goal of $23 million. What we do need from you all tonight is consensus and support to be able to move forward, because we're just waiting to just give them a call as soon as possible. And we have a very strong reserves. And one of the reasons that we've been able to build that strong reserves is because we knew with the Parks Master Plan, Strategic Master Plan, Storm Drainage Master Plans, completing all those master plans will lead to the proper game plan and execution to begin the design and now construction of this project. So I wanted to get that consensus to be able to move forward with C.W. Thomas Park. All right, guys, thank you so much. As you could see, Cassie, Frank, we're ready to move forward with that. And finally, my report, our deputy manager is in a very, very well-deserved vacation with his family. So at the last commission meeting, actually 2 commission meetings ago, we were bringing forward a presentation, and I'm bringing it via this memorandum in regards to the request by the City Commission on February the 27th. So basically, we conducted research and a timeline and estimated expenses associated with relocating and restoring of the historical standards of the A.C. Frost House. Provided below is a schedule for hiring contractor to relocate the house and the expenditures. The process of selecting a contractor to relocate the house, including the request for proposal known as RFP, is expected to take approximately 49 to 60 days. For your reference, below is an example of an expedited timeline. Bid authorization would commence April the 9th. Issuing of RFP, the request for proposal will be April 16, open for 30 days. Bid opening would be May 16th. Committee meeting will be May 23rd. City Commission award will be the last meeting in May, which will be May 28th. Once the house has been, should you give us direction and should there be consensus, once the house has been relocated to its final and permanent location, we will commence the assessment of historical restoration phase. And please find below an estimated outline of the steps and costs. Number one, that will be a request for qualifications or an RFQ, advertisement to select the firm for assessing the house's condition and creating the interior design. That will be approximately 3 months or approximately $1,000. The condition assessment and cost estimate for design will be the next step, and that'll be approximately 4 to 6 months, and that'll be a cost of approximately $35,000. If the City Commission decides to approve the assessment and move forward with the design, it would take approximately 6 months to complete, and it'll be approximately $95,000. The advertisement for construction and invitation to bid will be 2 months. The opening of the bids and the selection of the contractor, obtaining City Commission approval, and awarding the contract for the contractor will take 2 months minimum. So the construction will take approximately 8 to 10 months. The estimated relocation cost will be somewhere between $225,000 and $250,000, including concrete foundation. And the estimated historic restoration will be approximately $1 million. The Nyberg historic restoration cost is $1.2 million. And this concludes my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, City Manager. Commissioner Salvino?
Mayor, I just have a question for you, City Manager. You're talking about the sewer hooking up, crossing Dania Cutoff Canal. I didn't quite understand all that.
Yes. The Broward County Dana Cutoff Canal Resilience Project, which is one of many projects that were in a list, working with the county and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, was awarded. It's one of 198 projects. It was ranked 53, and now it's finally come to us in our time in regards to this award. And this is a resiliency project that is listed in the statewide flooding and sea level rise resiliency
I don't mean to
plan.
interrupt you. I understand all that part of it. I'm just, you mentioned the 53 homes and
There's 75
75
properties. By connecting, they've identified the 75 properties that will be connecting from the sanitary septic system and installing to a new force main. That this will help ensure the community is adapting to the critical and significant infrastructure as it relates to flooding.
okay.
So they're getting rid of septic.
Yeah, okay. I'm just curious where that section is because I know that I thought the only part of the city, the general city before we annexed out west, everything was on sewer systems on the south, in Dania Beach, except for the Melaleuca Garden, Nautilus Isles area. And that was the reason they didn't have a sewer, was because of Dania Cutoff Canal. At that point, there just seems like there's more than 53 homes. That was mainly what I was getting to.
Then, sir, our city engineer and our deputy director of public services.
Thank you so much, City Manager. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Din Chiracanozo, Deputy Public Service Director, City Engineer. Commissioner Salvino, are you correct? East of I-95, that where we serve the sewer, only Melaleuca Gardens that we have in septic, but the west side, Broward County basically serves the water and sewer. There are some areas that they are still in septic, for example, 37 Terrace, and that other area that they are in septic, so, yeah.
Well, that answers my question. It's not, when I was just assuming that it was the Dania Cutoff Canal, this side of it, I didn't realize you were going to go past it. Okay,
Past it,
that's
yeah,
now I
yeah,
understand where
west side.
57 homes come in. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Thank you, Dinser.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner James?
Yes, and speaking of the garage, I know the CRA had like 7 million or so dollars that they got forgiven or a payback loan to the county. I don't know if it's a loan reimbursement or however it's supposed to, the right terminology for it. Have we explored that option for the additional 2 stories before we are speaking with other businesses?
I scheduled a meeting with our CRA director to discuss the Arts and Entertainment District and the timeline. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be discussing that I've added in the agenda to discuss how this all went down, because I know it happened with the former director.
Yeah, I
and
think
how
it was
the
called a
was
loan to
forgiven.
grant agreement, if
Right.
I'm not mistaken, out of this.
So
coming to me.
what I would want him to do is look at the documents, because that's when I found out that the structure could hold 2 additional stories. And if perhaps we could do the same thing with the county.
Okay, I don't mind also getting into that conversation if you,
Oh, absolutely.
if need be.
Yes.
And maybe contacting some people from the county or even looking back into the past and seeing what we have done with that.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis?
A quick question, City Manager. Thank you for the update on the Nyberg Swanson, and I do understand that we are going to complete that one first prior to going to the Women's Club and doing those renovations. But if you could just speak to the Women's Club for the people who, because that's the actual communities that meet every single month. So if you could just speak to that, I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely, Commissioner Davis. Couple of meetings ago, we passed out to all of you a pretty comprehensive project list citywide that touches the entire city, from infrastructure to parks to roads, streets, et cetera, et cetera. Once we're complete with Nyberg Swanson, we will move immediately to the Women's Club. We always recommend that we pretty much stay in the order. But one of the things that I discussed with the mayor too is the possibility of seeking grants. And the mayor will discuss later some opportunities that he has been able to look into in regards to the extension of time that we might get on this existing house. Should we go that route? But absolutely, we're going to stick to that order, because I know we've promised this and the people are waiting. We're very excited.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we have our city attorney. Anything?
Good evening, everyone. I'll keep it very short. I just wanted to advise you that the Form 6 litigation has been filed as of Friday, and they expect to have the injunction hearing by the mid-April. One other thing, there was a code enforcement case that had been going on for a couple of years now that involved both our fire department, thank you to Chief Pelisar, and our code compliance regarding an assisted living facility that was constantly having a bug problem. Long story short, the special magistrate decisions were upheld on appeal to circuit court, and the city is going forward and continuing to make sure that our residents, even if they're transitory or elderly, that they are protected. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney Bootzes. Alora, our clerk, what do you got for us?
So April 8th, you have your budget workshop meeting at 4:30. And then on April 9th, you have your CRA board meeting at 5:30 and your commission meeting at 7. And that is it for the month of April. You will not be having a second meeting in April.
Okay,
And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
thank you. The meeting's the day after. Yeah. Okay, up for our public safety reports, we have our XO, Lieutenant Cooper. Captain Tarala is in Tallahassee, correct? All right.
That is correct.
All right, Shalonda Cooper, what do you got for us?
Greetings, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City Clerk, and the amazing residents of Dania Beach. Just coming back from a couple days off, I was able to hit the reset button, and now we're back in action. Great to see you all. Last Tuesday, March 19th, we had a very large law enforcement presence here in Dania Beach. We were locating a first-degree suspect. I'm sorry, we were locating a suspect with charges of first-degree murder that through intelligence we learned it was here in our city. That incident stemmed from earlier this month, March 6th, at approximately 9:22 p.m. in the city of Pompano Beach. Our deputies responded to 250 North Powerline Road at a food store. Upon their arrival, they did locate a victim that had multiple gunshot wounds, and unfortunately, that victim was pronounced deceased at the scene. Our BSO and homicide investigators took lead over that case. Through investigative means, they learned that the individual may have been hiding at an address in Dania Beach, an apartment located at 40 Northwest 10th Court. Due to the seriousness of this offense, our fugitive unit, utilizing various investigative means with the assistance of the U.S. Marshal Service, located the address, the target location that I mentioned. They did receive additional intelligence that that individual was indeed hiding out at that location and had got there on March 17th. On March 19th, surveillance was established at that location. K-9 was requested, a ton of resources, our tactical units. The suspect did ultimately peacefully surrender, which is great news, and he was taken off the streets and arrested, debriefed by our homicide unit, and subsequently taken to the main jail for first-degree murder. One story I just happened to come in today and I wanted to highlight and mention. Our homeless outreach team, Deputy Reyes and Deputy Spicer, they were notified by code enforcement of a 22-year-old male by the name of Lawrence and his beautiful husky dog, Luna, who were living in the bush line along the 4200 block of Griffin Road. And our code enforcement had actually alerted Reyes and Spicer to this incident. Reyes and Spicer made contact with Mr. Lawrence. And upon just having conversation with him, building a rapport with him, discussing services that he's able to tap into, they learned that Lawrence's mother had passed away when he was 8 years old. His father had passed away in 2022, leaving him to seek alternatives with his sister, which eventually forced him into homelessness. The good news is, because of the rapport that they were able to build, Lawrence accepted services. It's rare, but it happens. We make arrests, we offer services, and the first goal is to offer services. And when they say yes, we're elated. To add to that, Deputy Reyes and Spicer, they reached out to several entities and individuals personally for assistance, receiving an outpouring of support. Lawrence he was able to secure a job at the Wendy's off Griffin Road, which is great news. However, his form of transportation, which was a moped, had been stolen. So Reyes and Spicer sent out an email to my entire staff in Dania Beach, all 100 of my staff, to include our civilians, asking, does anybody have a moped? Does anybody have a bicycle? Does anybody have a scooter, a skateboard? Does anyone have anything that we can utilize to assist this individual as far as transportation? Emails went back and forth, and I was just, like a proud mother or a kid in a candy store when I saw the outpouring of love from not only our city officials, which I'll get to, but our deputies and my civilian staff, just to get this individual some form of transportation due to his stolen moped. Reyes transported Lawrence to the homeless task force for assessment and continued making several calls, resulting in a 60-day program bed at the Central Homeless Outreach Center. Deputy Reyes took Lawrence on his tour of that facility, and I'm told that there were smiles and tears of joy during that tour. By Lawrence being at the Central HAC, which we call the Central Homeless Outreach Center, this will open additional doors for more services such as permanent housing and rental assistance. In the meantime, he has a job at Wendy's. He has a bus pass to get to and from work when he gets off at 3 a.m., which I spoke with Spicer on the way here. He gets off at 3 a.m. He gets on this new bicycle that one of my deputies were able to provide to him to get back to the shelter. This individual also reached out to Spicer to thank our vice mayor, who offered additional employment. Thankfully, Wendy's, because of his circumstances, has given him more hours. He said his plan B is to reach out to the vice mayor if needed, but he's grateful to have that in his back pocket. Thank you for that. I mentioned the bicycle. So at the end of the day, my deputies wanted me to know and mention that this individual had a great outlook on life despite his circumstances. He was determined to overcome his current events. They mentioned to me that he's beyond kind, optimistic, and grateful for any little thing that was provided to him. Because Lawrence accepted services, he has a great and a better future. And I just could not help but, I would be remiss if I did not mention that. Thank you all. Tomorrow, there is an academy graduation at the Broward College, and I'm grateful to say that Dania Beach will be receiving 2 new police officers. Great news for us. It's about once they graduate tomorrow, they have about 3 weeks in-house, then an additional 6 months paired with a field training deputy. So they'll probably be on a solo assignment towards the end of this year. But the good news is we have those 2 bodies forthcoming. The beginning of April, another academy graduates. We will have a certified deputy forthcoming, which this individual has, prior law enforcement from another agency. So his training phase is about a month and he'll hit the ground running. Last but not least, just to put a face to a name, oftentimes with my amazing officials or just the general public call with concerns or resident send emails, I have the luxury of contacting my night shift supervisor, Sergeant Eddie Hernandez, who's here in the building. And just so you all are able to put a face to a name when we're having conversation, and then sometimes I'm on the phone with Sergeant Hernandez. Just wanted to show face. He's been with us in Dania Beach since December 30th. He was recently promoted to the rank of sergeant, and he has been a great asset in his 3 months with us.
Nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much.
Our amazing captain is in his last week of the Florida Sheriff's Association Commanders Academy. He graduates this Friday, and he sends his regards. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Lieutenant Cooper. You're good to go, no questions.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, up next we have our Fire Chief, Sergio Pellicer. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening. I can't follow that. She's awesome. So basically, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City staff, and the great citizens of Dania Beach. Last month, February 1 through 29th, we had 629 calls for service. Out of those, 96 were fire-related, 533 were EMS-related. We had a car seat program start out, actually last week, came here to Dania Beach, and what we're doing is we're training the trainers to install car seats safely so that if any new families need car seats installed in their house, we have more than just BSO doing that. We have other agencies doing this, so we're trying to train the trainer and make this county-wide program go off. And our life safety educators were the head of that, and that's going to be here in Dania Beach. It was here last week, and then it'll be ongoing for the next 3 months. It's a 3-day program that's very in-depth. Our firefighters have been training at the City of Hollywood Fire Academy with our new recruits, and they're all receiving a second set of gear, and that's thanks to you. What they do is they have their regular firefighting gear. They get one set of gear when they come on the job. And then usually, if we have a fire, they're supposed to get a second set of gear. That way we can send out the first set that got dirty at a fire, get it professionally clean, and get it back so that they're not wearing, carcinogens on their body. So thank you for that. And lastly, I'd like to ask for your support tonight on item number 5. This is a SAFER grant. It's 100% covered for 3 years for our firefighter to hire 5 firefighters. And they would be covered for 3 years. And the only thing the city would be on the hook for would be have to pay for their uniforms and their fire gear the first 3 years. After that, then the city is responsible for all of it. But I ask for your support, and I thank you for always supporting the fire department.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go into citizen comments. You all have 3 minutes to speak. Please avoid redundancy, and you cannot give your time to anyone else. We will start with Michael Sarton. Mr. Sarton, please state your name and address.
Michael Sarton, 746 Southwest 3rd Street in Dania Beach. I'm going to try to prevent you from making a mistake. In order to do so, I only have to go back to 1803. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson sent Lewis and Clark out with a Corps of Discovery to reach the Pacific coast. Today, on top of a bluff near Sioux City, there stands a 200-foot sandstone obelisk, a 2/3 scale model of the Washington Monument. Sergeant Floyd was the first and only member of the Corps of Discovery to die during the expedition. Later, the first white woman, married to a settler, died and was buried nearby. They erected a 9-foot stone, which was labeled, quote, the First Wife Monument. Everyone I knew during the 2.5 years that I lived in Sioux City derisively called it the First White Wife Monument. Sioux women had been marrying settlers before the first white wife arrived as a young bride. The Frost House, and I'll be tying this together, is a nice example of what I would call vernacular chisel-faced stone architecture. Its building material appears similar to the cast stone of the Nyberg Swanson House, which we have already moved to the campus of City Hall and I understand is undergoing renovation. The Nyberg Swanson House could readily be converted into a revenue-producing entity, as could the Dania Women's Club. We could develop a small botanical garden, a place for a party tent around either of these two structures. The venue could be used for weddings, wedding receptions, and so forth. The savings and income resulting from repurposing this property and not acquiring the Frost House could be used, and I believe should be used, for a monument celebrating the people of the Native American cultures who've been here for 10,000 years. I'm not impressed by the phrase Dania Pioneer. And another place to put the money is in fixing the mausoleums that we have, which were made in part out of styrofoam. Now you put some paint on it so it looked like stone, but it's styrofoam. I see that my 3 minutes are about to expire. I cut this down to about this amount of time. I can watch this at home with a remote control. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hankerson. Oh, sorry, Mr. Sarton. Thank you, Mr. Michael Sarton. All right, up next we have Mr. Hankerson. Mr. Hankerson, please state your name and address.
Thank you, sir. I'm Derek Hankerson.
A lot of papers up here.
Yes, I know. And I reside at 746 Southwest 3rd Street in Dania Beach. I first want to thank you all for your hard work. It's quite a challenge to manage a city and to provide for the residents. All of your decisions are clearly not black and white. There's a lot of gray in there. I'm keeping my eye on the clock, and I apologize to Mr. K, who I told, I'm not speaking tonight, I don't have anything to say, but I read the financial, what is it, number?
3, 4?
Yes, regarding the stormwater revenue sufficiency. And I'm concerned as an old-time resident. We own a couple of properties. One is in Meadowbrook. My mother purchased that in her older years, but I acquired or purchased our family home in the Southwest. That was built, we moved in 1962. When I was a child, the area where Meadowbrook is was just sea oats and sand. But we now are on our third attempt of spending millions of dollars to mitigate stormwater for an area that was always low-lying. Now, I live closer to the Atlantic Coastal Ridge. As you know, Henry Morrison Flagler bought his land from Mary Brickell, and he wanted the highest land along that ridge. I'm a block from that railroad. I'm on high land in Dania Beach. But with this once in 100 storm that came along, water was right up to my front door. Several of my neighbors had water in their homes. I'm getting nothing out of this except being charged higher fees. My neighborhood is not on the list, but we're funding areas that were low-lying, and this is our third attempt at it. I would like more than just promises. I want somebody to come back to me and tell me that my home, my primary residence, is going to be protected. Because as it is now, I don't see this as being given due process. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Eggerson. Up next, we have Mr. Robert Hewitt. Mr. Hewitt, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. 2757 Southwest 46th Court. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, staff. I recently received a violation for a commercial truck. The truck I bought in 2004, a pickup truck, four-wheel drive diesel. I bought a awful nice custom body out of Kansas and put on it with the intent of someday pulling an RV. So I was recently cited because there's a hitch in my truck. And rightfully so. I had bought an RV. But I can't park the RV at the house because it's 40 foot. So I have the RV parked in storage. But the truck's definitely not commercial. It's 20 years old. Has 38,000 miles on it. So how do I get past this?
Yeah, please.
Why don't you give me a call tomorrow? We can talk about it. I don't know anything about your case, but I can review it and go over it with you in code.
Okay, I know that they took several pictures, and of
Just
course
give me a call.
I have one with it connected to the RV.
And I'll give you my cell phone number so you can call me directly. I'll come down and give it to you.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hewitt. Thank you, Eve.
My pleasure.
Up next is Raylene Paper. Please state your name and address.
Raylene Paper, 280 Southeast 7th Street, Dania Beach. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I'm a Dania native, and I'm on the Board of Directors of the Dania Beach Historical Society. We've recently received a letter from the DAR, and they've been in touch with us, and they are supporting our cause, which is the AC Frost House. The DAR's mission is historic preservation, education, and patriotism, to which this applies. Therefore, Himarshi chapter supports the preservation of this building and believes that it will continue to be an important legacy in Dania Beach's future. I have copies of the letter that they sent to the Dania Beach Historical Society if anybody wants a copy.
You give them to the clerk when you're done.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Paper. Appreciate you. Up next is Linda Wilson. Ms. Wilson, please state your name and address.
Linda Wilson, 1547 Adams Street, Hollywood, Florida. I'm very passionate about historic preservation, and having lived in Hollywood and seen the destruction of many historic structures, I'm sorry to say I'm seeing a lot of that happen here. And I did want to say that you're commemorating 120 years of Dania Beach, the oldest city in Broward County. And I did send an email with a link to the city clerk and also to you, AJ, Mayor, from the South Florida Sun-Times that was written in August of 2023, which talked about the marvelous historic presence and fervor of historic preservation in the city of Dania Beach. It made me wonder, where did this enthusiasm go about the city's rich history and honoring its 120 years existence? In the last several years, Dania Beach has allowed demolition of many memorable and some celebrated historic structures for the sake of development. We currently have listed on your ordinance 2000-38 approximately 11 properties of historical significance, the only one of which that has been on the National Historic Register since 1999 being the Nyberg Swanson House. The others, although they are eligible for listing in the National Historic Register, have never been submitted. Now, the discussion about the 158 North Federal Highway, which is the original A.C. Frost home, we have already permanently lost, among others, the Dania Beach Hotel, built in 1925, now replaced by the place at Dania Beach Boulevard, and the Catherine Hotel, that was one of the Frost family members' daughter. It was formerly the Pirates Inn, and that's how most people know it. That was built in 1935. Soon slated for demolition, if you allow it to happen, will be the A.C. Frost House, which was, again, the founder of Dania, originally Modelo, then Dania, and now Dania Beach. Wouldn't it be appropriate to move this to Frost Park so that that house could be incorporated into the Frost Park property? If the city does not support moving this, and the cost may be $1 million, but there might be funds available through grants, through the county, through the state. And if it does cost $1 million, give us a chance to raise some money. If we don't preserve the homes of the founders, then what is historic preservation in the city of Dania Beach? If not now, when? If not this commission, what commission? Do you think 50 years from now, anybody is going to consider historic all those high-rise and mid-rise buildings you've built all over Dania Beach? I don't think so.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you.
Okay, up next we have Ted Kay, former mayor.
Move to stand up. I don't need to step on a step here. I won't move. Okay. My name is Ted Kay. I live at 355 Southwest 2nd Avenue in Dania. And tonight I come wearing my general contractor's hat. I've had a state license now for 55 years. I have done a lot of building, and I went to Frost House and did an inspection on it. And I want to tell you what I saw. First of all, I'll start with the attic. It looks brand new. It looks like the wood was cut yesterday. There's no mold, there's no leaks, and there's no smells. Okay, the house is, I could not believe it. And I went with also a guy by the name of Joshua Aspen. He works as a contractor also. He would be bidding on this for any house you do. He works as a historical rejuvenator. And then the basement, not the basement, but the floors were the same way. I took pictures if anybody wants to see them. There's no watermarks anywhere. There's no mold, no smell. No, it's just unbelievable. It's hard to believe it's been there for over 100 years and doesn't have any kind of deterioration to it. It has the Dade County pine, as you well know, really holds up. The roof is in good shape. And let's see, as I walk through the house now, most people would walk through and say, oh my God, you know, look at, it's not bad at all. It looks really, really good. It's very minimal. When I say minimal, I've done a lot of renovations since I've been retired with my own buildings. I can renovate that whole house to make it into an apartment with no problem for under $50,000, probably 35. Okay, if you want to make it historical, you would have to take out the bathroom towel, which has been updated into the 70s. And you would have to put a kitchen in it, okay? But as far as the rest of the house is concerned, it's simply drywall. There's a hole in the ceiling. The guy, in 25 minutes, I cut it out, put a new piece in there, and tape it, and then sand it. And it needs paint, yes. It's in really, really good shape. To be honest with you, the wood in that place is probably worth $80,000 to $100,000. Okay, just the wood. But it's a lot of labor taking it out. But it is really, really in good shape. And as you well know, you can't find Dade County pine anywhere. I took the liberty today to call on some people that move houses. And that house can be moved to Frost Park, which I suggest might be a good idea, for about $100,000. Now, don't forget, we can probably get some money back because the builder has to tear it down, right? So the tear down costs, we would be refunded a little bit of money there. There's plenty of grants that we're working on. We need time, to get all these things done. Now, if you're worried about the money part of it, I'll loan the city the money, whatever cost it takes to go ahead and move this house, okay? And if you need more, I'll finish it. But it's as a loan. So anyways, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Kay. All right, up next we have Joanna Granette. Please state your name and address.
Joanna Granette, 450 Southeast 7th Street. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager, City Attorney. I'm sent a few emails and spoke to commissioners regarding the AC Frost House, currently situated at 158 North Federal Highway, Dania Beach, which is slated for demolition. I recently spoke with the commissioner who told me that the Nyberg Swanson House Women's Club and the Southeast Drainage Project would need to be put on hold if the money is used to move and save the AC Frost House. As you know, we have the monies already allocated for those projects, and some since 2021, which we received from the American Rescue Plan. 3 whole years to get to this point where we are only just having tonight's agenda to release the money to start restoration of these properties. So no. Moving and saving the Founders House would not hold up any project, especially the women's restoration. On or around March 2023, the Vice President of the Dania Beach Historical Society and myself visited Dania Beach Fire Station, and we met with the fire chief. When asked specifically about the fire that occurred in the AC Frost House, the fire chief answered not much damage, and we got there quickly because it's just around the corner. And that's good because it is literally around the corner. 3 weeks ago on March 5th, a whole year after the fire occurred, I went into the AC Frost House myself. A city official told me that I'd need a hazmat suit to enter the AC Frost and that the house is in such bad condition. So I went prepared with a mask. Accompanying me that day was a commissioner, deputy city manager, a city director, 2 city staff, 3 historical restoration expert contractors, 2 of whose family business has been in operation in Broward County since 1908, and the president of Hollywood Historical Society. We all went inside. We walked around and we observed the attic, the foundations of the house. Not one person wore a mask, and we were in there for at least 20 minutes. There's no smell. The floors were intact. And also a commissioner told me that they'd spoke with 100 residents, and they told them that they were against the moving of the AC Frost House, and only 25 of you are for it. Based on what information did those 100 residents conclude their opinion? A commissioner told me that they feel that the space being considered to move the AC Frost House next to the Women's Club is too tight. So let's think about moving to a space that's more open and accessible. Frost Park is an ideal space. Founder of Dania AC Frost House on Frost Park land and donated by the Frost family themselves to us, the residents of Dania Beach. Hollywood is in a contract right now purchasing their founder's house. The Dania Beach Historical Society unanimously voted to pledge $5,000 towards the move. Hollywood knows the importance of saving their founder's house, and so do we. Save Dania Beach, city's founder house. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and our last public comments is Kathy Kay. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and the Commissioners.
Pull it down a little. There you go.
I'm not used to public speaking. Anyway, I am Kathy Kay, 355 Southwest 2nd Avenue, Dania Beach. I am the great granddaughter of A.C. Frost. I am the granddaughter of M.C. Frost. And I went with my husband the other day where we met with Joshua Arpin, and he showed us the inside of the house and the value of it. He said it was the most pristine structure he's ever seen, historical structure that has not been renovated. There was, yes, a fire, and the police chief told us a year ago when we saw him that it was only a topical thing. Paint will take care of it. There's no structural damage from the fire that was in there. The floors are amazing. It's covered with about $100,000 of Dade County pine, and it's totally leveled. It needs to be refinished. There are no termites. As you know, Dade County pine does not house termites. The bones of the house are good. I find that gentleman that spoke about pioneers not being a valid, he would be a mistake. We promote pioneers here in Dania by this publication. And in here, it says the city manager is quoted as saying, commented to the historical preservation that the Dania City Beach is, the city of Dania is committed to the historical preservation of the historical structures. Words mean nothing, action speaks louder. I also remember the Fort Lauderdale epic story that went on for 10 years about a tree in Fort Lauderdale. 10 years they battled the development of the structure they wanted there. They moved the tree finally. The developer paid for the move. It cost $500,000. The tree itself was £1 million, and it's amazing that that would be more important than our founders' city, founders' home here. Anyway, I hope you consider saving this house. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kay. Okay, now we're going to go to the consent agenda.
May I speak to that? I haven't spoken to this.
Go ahead.
It's a good thing.
Come on, keep it brief.
Thank you. In the spirit of goodwill.
Name and address.
Derek Hankerson, 746 Southwest 3rd Street, Dania Beach. Thank you. In the spirit of goodwill, I believe that we need to at least try a public-private partnership, and I'm willing to donate $1,000 if we can get 10 other people in this room to donate the same to get this moving. This is not my personal history, but this is my city. You all are my people. So I'm willing to donate that $1,000, but on the other hand, I've got to tell you something. It's difficult and it's expensive to live here. When my property, homeowner's insurance went over $12,000 a year, I let it go. I'm paying over $7,000 a year in my property taxes for my homesteaded residence. My mother's in a memory care center. I'm paying $5,400 a month for that. So I need you to pull your fingers out of my wallet in terms of additional expenses. It's difficult. Pardon me? I'm giving away money because I'm going to give it away in a taxable donation format. Okay? We have revenue coming in, but my mother's money is not my money. So just be gentle. Thank you.
Thank
And
you,
let me
Mr.
know who to
Ankerson.
write the check to.
Okay, with that, citizens' comments are closed. So now we'll go on to the consent agenda. Are there any items the commission wishes to pull from the consent agenda? You want to pull? No. But, Commissioner James, you're first.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, consent agenda passes. Just to highlight a couple things from the consent agenda. We got 5 new vehicles, 2 generators. We're fixing our boat ramps off of Griffin Road. We approved that SAFER grant that Chief Pelliser was asking for, so congratulations, BSO firefighters. And we actually, our year 49 CDBG funds for our Northwest Oasis project is coming through. So we're gonna utilize that money towards our Oasis project also. So a lot going on with our consent agendas, just like to put it out there for the public. For item 9.1, Eve, with our bids and requests for proposals.
A resolution of the City Commission authorizing the award of ITB 23-023 Building Department Renovation Project to S3S Construction, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $1,250,393 and to amend the Building Fund and Facilities Maintenance Fund total budget appropriations. This is a community development item.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. So we are very excited to start this project. This is an item to award the bid for the building department renovations, as the city attorney explained. The scope of this project would provide much-needed improvements and upgrades to the building department, and that includes the special permitting office as well. The city received 11 responses to the request for proposals, and we have chosen S3S Construction in the amount of $1,250,393. S3S recently remodeled the City Hall's West Wing, which is the Commissioner's office and the HR department currently. So they're very familiar with the building, and they were very diligent through the construction and permitting process here with us. So with this request, we're also asking to provide a $75,000 contingency account that would cover any unforeseen change orders. As you know, remodeling existing buildings, we always expect the unexpected. So the total budget to include the contingency would be allocated from the building fund, Commissioner Salvino, in the total amount of $1,325,393. And staff is recommending approval of this. If you have any questions, I'm here.
Commissioner James?
Make a motion to approve 9.1.
I have a motion from Commissioner James to approve 9.1.
Second.
I have a second from Vice Mayor Llewellyn. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Item passes.
Thank
On
you.
to 9.2, please.
If you don't mind, I'd like to read 12.1 and 12.2
Oh, yes,
first.
sorry, Eve. Yeah.
These two are the budgetary items that coincide with items 9.2 and 9.3. If you don't pass the budgetary items, you can't pass the 2 resolutions. So 12.1 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach authorizing the expenditure of city funds exceeding $1 million, with the project cost being determined at bid award to fund the building department renovations project, providing for an effective date. Did I get it wrong?
Commissioner James?
No.
That's the right one.
I mean,
I thought
This
I
is
was.
item 12.1. Okay, this is public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak on this item?
I'm sorry, we should have done it before 9.1. 12.1 should have been done before 9.1. So we're a little bit late, but we can go ahead and continue with 12.1.
Okay, yeah, let's continue with 12.1, please.
yes, we probably just need to reorder these when we're doing the agenda, so we
Yeah.
don't have to hopscotch around. But I make a motion to approve item 12.1.
Okay, I have a motion to approve item 12.1.
Second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, item passes.
So then 12.2, which is an ordinance authorizing the expenditure of city funds over $1 million for the historic restoration of the Nyberg Swanson Housing Project. And this is a public services item, and it goes right before the 9.2 item on Nyberg Swanson.
So after the public hearing, make a motion to approve 12.2.
It's a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
And I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay.
Thank you. So 9.2.
Two.
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach authorizing the ITB 23-10 entitled Rehabilitation of Lift Stations 1, 2, and 3 Rebid Project to David Mancini and Sons, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $9,774,595. Public Services.
Good evening again, Din Charkanas, Iron Deputy Public Service Director, City Engineer. This project is lift station 1, 2, and 3. They are located 50, 400, and 1200 Southeast 2nd Avenue. These are our sewer lift stations, lift station 1, 2, and 3. We advertise this project in San Sentinel and on our city's website. And David Mancini and Sons bid this job, and they are the only one bidder. And we recommend to approve this project.
This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on this? Oh, no. Oh, this is bids and request proposals. Commissioner James?
Make a motion to approve 9.2.
I have a motion. I have a second from Vice Mayor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. 12.3.
A resolution of authorizing the award of ITB 23-25 historic restoration of the Nyberg Swanson House to Persons Service Corp. For historic restoration and repairs.
Commissioner James?
Make a motion to approve 9.3.
Motion to approve 9.3.
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, now we're on to quasi-judicial and public hearings. 10.1, please, Eve.
A resolution of the City Commission approving, I'm going to read 10.1 and 2 as they're going to be heard together. They're the plat and site plan and variances. So it's approving the site plan and variances submitted by ABC Rentals for the property located at 2849 Ravenswood Road in the city of Dania Beach, and a resolution approving the ABC rental plat submitted by the owners, ABC Rentals LLC, for the property located at 2849 Ravenswood Road in the city of Dania Beach. These are both community development items and public hearings. And before we have a presentation, anyone who's going to be speaking on these items, can you please raise your right hand, including anybody in the community that would like to speak on them? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Seeing no one else other than Viviana. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. The item before you tonight, as the City Attorney mentioned, is for the site plan variance and plat for the property located at 2849 Ravenswood Road. The property is located south of Marina Mile and west of Ravenswood Road. And the zoning designation is IRAM AA, Industrial Research Office Marine Airport Approach, with a future land use designation of industrial. The property is at 0.45 acres, and the current use is for construction tools rental. The property doesn't have any violations, and they are requesting to replat the property to adjust the right-of-way in accordance to the Broward County Traffic Way. Also, they're proposing the site plan approval for the redevelopment of a commercial property for a 4,472 square feet single-story office warehouse with 10 parking spaces, and they're requesting as well 2 variances. This is the site plan, as you can see on the screens. The south portion of the property will remain for the access driveway, which also provides access to the west property and the south property. And this is the current condition of the property, as you can see right now, and this is what the applicant is proposing. So the variances they're requesting is for the front setback, as mentioned, because they have to accommodate the right-of-way the county is requesting for the traffic ways. So the code requires them to provide 30 feet setback, and they're proposing a 20-feet setback, as well as a landscape buffer to the south. The code requires them to provide a 5-feet setback, and they're only providing a 3-foot setback. 3-foot buffer. And the applicant has provided justification statement explaining the need of the variances and they're meeting the criteria from Code Section 625. This is the variance criteria. And the applicant as well did a community outreach on January 23rd, sending out letters to notices to properties within 1,000 feet. And they conducted the meeting on February 7th, and the neighbors attended, and they had multiple questions regarding flood risk and some concerns regarding stormwater retention. They have been able to provide answers to that, and actually they are part of your packets. The item went before Development Review Committee twice, once in September 20th, 2023, and then December 20th, 2023. And although they have comments as conditions of approval, part of the resolution, we are recommending approval. The budgetary impact of this development, it's associated with public art impact fees up to $250,000 and tree mitigation fee for $26,932. The item, or the application, is meeting city strategic plans for valuing to our neighbors and communities and expanding business investment in the city of Dania Beach. As previously mentioned, we are recommending approval of the site plan, the plat, and the two variances, meaning that the pending comments are conditions of approval in the resolution, and they must be addressed prior to issuance of the permit. And I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you, Viviana.
Before you open it to the public, I just want to make sure, are there any disclosures that need to be made by the elected officials for contact from the public or the applicant? Seeing none.
This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? All right, seeing none. Commissioner James?
Yes, I have a question. So you said that there are a lot of concerns from the residents. How are those concerns addressed?
So, if you can help me with the screen before. Thank you. The presentation. They demonstrated on their plan and the site plan that they were able to meet the storm drainage requirements the city has. And they were able to show that on, let me just go back to the site plan.
Let me just add, Commissioner, a lot of the complaints were historical flooding that happens along the street, not just that with the site. So some of our city staff, Dinser and some of his engineering staff met the developers out there and some of the not residents, but business owners that are along that corridor to discuss the drainage and the flooding issues that are happening in that area. I'm sure you've heard of the 595 expansion that they're doing. A lot of that construction is causing additional flooding in that area. So we have confirmed that this project will not adversely affect the flooding. In fact, it'll help the flooding in that small area, but they were concerned about the flooding along the entire road of Ravenswood.
And then what was the response from the community after that was explained? Were they okay with it, or they are?
So based on that site inspection, there was some properties we've noticed that were added fill illegally. So they are adversely affecting this the flooding on that property. So we have to address that with each of the individual property owners. But yeah, overall the business owners were happy with the city's response, and Dinser can elaborate a little bit more on what actions the city was going to take. The community overall was satisfied, yes.
Okay, thank you. Then any other discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Where are we? 10.1. 10.1.
All right, I have a motion to approve 10.1.
Second.
I have a second for Vice Mayor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. Item 10.1 passes. Okay, we are continuing item 10.
You have to do 10.2 also.
Yeah.
Did the motion contain both? You could do both at the same time if you wanted.
Okay.
Was the motion amended to include 10.1 and 2?
Motion to approve 10.2. Yeah, just do a motion to approve 10.2.
Motion to approve item 10.2, second from Commissioner James. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay, it passes.
And on the continuance for 10.3, I just have to read it into the record.
Okay.
A resolution of the City Commission approving the request for a waiver from 1,000-foot separation requirement pertaining to the sale of alcoholic beverages submitted by the applicant Pearl Ben Urim and Moore Ben Urim of Maverick Liquors for the property located at 4501 Sterling Road. This is a community development item. Community development is asked for this item to be continued to the April 9th meeting, so more community outreach can be done. Motion. Just open it to public first.
This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on item 10.3? Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
I'll make a motion to continue
Hold
the
on,
item.
hold on.
It
That's
is.
what we're just-
That's what we're doing
Continue.
right now. No, if you want to, you
wanted
can.
to.
If you, it's open for public comment. Okay.
Motion to continue the item to the April 9th, 2024 meeting.
Okay, I have a motion to continue from Vice Mayor Llewellyn.
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner James. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. All right, Eve, item 11.1, please.
An ordinance amending 2022-10, authorizing the expenditure of city funds exceeding $1 million, which expenditure was proposed to not exceed the project estimate of $18,100,000 to now reflect an expenditure exceeding that amount due to the inflation of supplies, equipment, and services since the original project estimate in 2019, which exceeded the monetary cost estimate from the original ordinance. To fund the bid RFQ 2021-24 construction and management at-risk services for the C.W. Thomas Park improvements. This is a Parks and Recreation item. This is just a clerical clarification to make sure that we can actually build the project with its current funding requirements.
Commissioner James?
After the public hearing, make a motion.
There's no public hearing on this.
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve 11.1.
Yes. All right, I have a motion to approve 11.1. I have a second from Commissioner Davis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
And can I add one other thing?
Oh, sorry.
Cassie, can you call them tonight?
Oh, gosh. All right, 11.1 passes. Item 11.2, please, Eve.
An ordinance amending Chapter 28 Land Development Regulations, off-site parking requirements to create sections 265, 185 through 265, 189 relating to electric vehicle charging station requirements as a permitted use, provided for conflict, severability, and effective date community development. There's no public hearing on this. Actually, there is, excuse me.
Good evening again, thank you. Eleanor Norina, Community Development Director. So this is first reading of a proposed text amendment that will require new development to incorporate electric vehicle charging stations and/or the capability for electric vehicle charging within their design. So these regulations will address the growing transition to electric vehicles and safeguard potential risks. As you can see, each year more and more electrical vehicles are purchased. This chart is projecting a 10% increase over the next 4 years. The purpose of this ordinance is to serve the public mobility needs, and it will apply to all new development and substantially improved development. So the regulations are consistent with the Florida Building Code, the Energy Code. We're going to go in a little bit of the details of it. So for a single family or duplex, they would have to provide the capability for charging of one vehicle. So that means providing the electricity. So in their electric meter, there'll be a dedicated circuit that could potentially be used for a charging station in the future if they ever were to buy an electric vehicle. So for the multifamily, hotel, commercial, the large parking garages, they would be required to install 5% of the total number of required parking spaces. So to give you an idea, if somebody was to build one of our like a city hall parking garage that has 400 parking spaces, 20 of those would have to be dedicated for electric vehicles and actually have the installation of the device to charge those vehicles. They'd have to have 20% capability. So the electric provided to that garage or that structure would have to have the capability to add up to 20% vehicles if the need would to grow in the future. And then for industrial, it's only 2%. Commercial and multifamily are handled the same, 5%. So some regulations, some requirements, they have to be clearly marked spaces, they have to meet the National Electrical Code. When possible, the devices should be placed on a mounted wall to provide no tripping hazard, provide screening for any large electrical equipment like transformers. This text amendment did go before the Green Advisory Board, and they unanimously supported this application, and also the Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval unanimously as well. And staff is recommending approval of this item. I'm here if you have any questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, Commissioner Salvino?
Yeah, I'm just a little confused on is this saying that each new permit that comes out that they have to have that installed on their meter just in case they get an electric vehicle?
So for like a new single-family home?
Yeah.
Yes, so they'd have to have a dedicated circuit for that
Okay,
possibility.
so each home and then I guess any condo or high rises or anything like that, they would be allocated according
If
to
they
the
had
parking
parking
space.
spaces, yes, 5% of
Okay,
those
so
parking
no matter
spaces.
what happens after we pass this, that means everybody has to have an adaptable thing in for the
This
future.
is actually already in the Florida Building Code as an appendix,
Mhm.
but it can't be enforced until the city adopts an ordinance.
Okay, I was just curious because I know that a lot of people, when they do other add-ons to their electric panels, they would either do it as necessary, not as not as a command type of thing. So, okay,
For single-family homes, it's really just an extra circuit that's dedicated, like a microwave circuit, or, it's a small single-phase circuit.
I know.
Just letting you know.
One of those circuits like that.
Yeah, they go like this.
I make a motion to approve after, the public hearing.
Vice Mayor
Oh.
has a question.
Yes.
Is this like other things where if there are special circumstances, somebody can seek a variance at some point, or no?
Yeah, I don't know why there wouldn't be a variance request for this, yeah.
I mean,
It could be part of like a site plan approval.
because I can understand Commissioner Salvito's concern that if it's not something that somebody's really thinking about doing, that, it might be an additional expense, but there might be reasoning.
Are you talking for the single family or
Yeah.
all development?
Yeah.
Just specifically
Yeah,
single family?
that's in particular I'm thinking about, because that's a different situation than a condo complex. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's really not that much to have a dedicated circuit in your electrical panel.
That's what people want to hear.
If you're retrofitting and you already have the electrical panel,
Yeah.
maybe it'd be a little bit more expensive, but for new development, it's just adding
It's
something.
nothing.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's good to know as well for people. Thank you. I'll second the motion.
thank you.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner James, I had a second from Vice Mayor Llewellyn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed say nay. Okay, item 11.2 passes. All right, now we'll go on to our second reading ordinances, item 12.1, Eve.
12.3.
Oh, wait, 12.3, we're done with 12.1 and 12.2, so on to 12.3.
An ordinance of the City Commission amending Chapter 17 offenses miscellaneous in order to amend the city's existing prohibition on camping to ensure that the prohibition enforcement measures contained in the code comply with constitutional requirements for such ordinances as set forth in Joel versus City of Orlando, and updating the code violations relating to camping, repealing Section 17.16 arrest and trial, 17.15 vagrant, 17-21-1, same prohibited generally, relating to loitering and providing for conflicts, codification, severability, and effective date. This is sponsored by Vice Mayor Llewellyn. Do you want to do the presentation?
No, you can.
Okay.
Because you made
In
the changes.
short, this is consistent with recent case law supporting the ability of a city to enforce its code against people who are violating it by camping in our public areas. Not just public areas, but in doorways of people's apartment buildings or condo buildings to prevent that from happening. This case was litigated up in Orlando, and their code was upheld. So I'm striking the provisions of our code that have been found obsolete and making sure that we're consistent with best practices.
And just to add on to that, there was a similar ordinance or resolution that was signed by the governor.
Yeah.
However, ours actually goes to what Lieutenant Cooper said earlier. We always look for somebody to have a bed first. We try to find help
So
for people
before there's an
first.
arrest, we actually ask the person if they'd like to have a bed. We can find them a place to sleep. And that actually was upheld as one of the reasons why the ordinance was constitutional. The state law does not contain that language. So there are persons out there that believe that the state law will be challenged, whereas the one we've written has already been challenged and has been upheld.
This is a public hearing, does anybody wish to speak on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve from Vice Mayor Llewellyn. Second from Commissioner Davis. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. Item 12.3 passes. Okay. Item 12.4.
It is an ordinance amending Chapter 16 vacation rentals at Section 16-2 vacation rentals, amending Section 105-110 entitled parking and storage of mobile living units, and Section 105-1 40, restrictions on parking commercial and recreational vehicles in residential areas, to clarify that mobile homes or recreational vehicles, otherwise known as mobile living units, cannot be leased for short-term or long-term rentals. This is sponsored by Commissioner James, and as the title says, it clearly makes sure that nobody can, in their single-family home or in their duplex, have a commercial, a mobile living unit that is rented out to third persons.
This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on item 12.4? Seeing none, Vice Mayor Llewellyn.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second? I have a second from Commissioner Salvino. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. All right, item 12.4 passes. Okay, item 12.5.
This is an ordinance amending Chapter 25 relating to traffic, Article 3, parking, stopping, and standing, Division 1 generally, it's Section 25-48, parking not to obstruct traffic, Section 2566, parking prohibited at certain locations, to clarify that trailers, mobile living units, trucks over 1 ton in weight, or any vessel parked improperly shall be subject to a greater fine than a personal vehicle, and reserving Section 25-79 fines, providing for codification. This is sponsored by the Vice Mayor Llewellyn, and basically what this is code has asked for this assistance. In our single-family districts in particular, you cannot park in the right-of-way in those areas, and a parking ticket for a regular vehicle in that area is $40, but who are the habitual offenders are the larger vehicles, the landscaping trucks, the RVs, the boats. And so the fine would be $250 for doing so for every violation. It would be a corrective action for the community to make sure that this doesn't continue happening. And that's what this code section is about.
This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Commissioner James.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second, Vice Mayor Llewellyn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say nay. Okay. 12.5 passes. 12.6 has been withdrawn.
Correct.
So we're going to move to 12.7.
An ordinance of the City Commission amending Chapter 16 vacation rentals at 16-3 revocation, suspension, or transfer of vacation rental certificates to provide an additional basis for revocation or suspension, to generally provide a cleanup of the Code of Ordinances. This is also sponsored by Vice Mayor Llewellyn. Do you want me to take the beginning? And you can take the beginning and I'll finish it. Okay. So this is basically, our manager currently has discretion to revoke or suspend a vacation rental certificate based upon sufficient amount of code violations of the property. What our code doesn't address is if there's a felony activity or misdemeanor activity at the property that could be a detriment to the neighborhood. So if the police are called out and they witness, gun fights or gambling or drug activity, other things, anything that's a felony or misdemeanor that is affecting the neighborhood, that would be reported to the manager, and the manager would have the discretion to revoke or suspend that vacation rental certificate.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
So we've actually had a couple of conversations since the first reading on this with a couple of lobbying groups, but also with Airbnb. So they were concerned, clearly, that this might be something that would be enforceable, because a lot of these ordinances are not. But this one is basically a clarification of one that we already had in existence, so therefore we can amend it in such a way that it would be enforceable, which is why we're doing this. And it's evidence of a crime. There has to be evidence of a crime, and it is discretionary, so that we can look at these on a case-by-case basis, because obviously some crimes are different than others. It's also based upon the fact that these are not hotels. Hotels obviously have security. Hotels have policies in place to deal with things like human trafficking, drug use, that sort of thing, whereas these individual homes don't necessarily have that. So that's part of the reason why this is being handled the way that it is. But I will say I was actually very grateful to speak with Airbnb in particular, because they were actually interested in helping. They wanted to keep the neighborhood safe, and they wanted to help us to support this going forward. So Just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Commissioner James?
Yes, I do have one question, and I'm not sure who it's addressed to. When we're speaking about the city manager having discretion, even over repeated, violations, I did see in the backup where we're continuing to have several noise violations for like the same property, and it's just saying that, it just comes to the magistrate. At what point are we going to suspend a license? Are we going to revoke a license? Are we going to do something more than just send them to the special magistrate? Especially, I think one of those properties, we had 3 noise complaints over the weekend. And so how does that work?
Once we have the findings by the special magistrate on the code violations, we can then start that process, and I'll talk with Eleanor and get that information together to the manager for review and action.
Okay, yeah, because it's not for nothing, but I would like to note on those. And so I mean, not that I'm rooting for anyone's property to be suspended, but I do want us to have a level of standard to where they know that you cannot continue to break the code and do whatever you want to do, and we're just going to turn our heads.
Commissioner, if I may, through the mayor, I think that's a very good point, and what we could do is take a closer look at that and match it with the file that we have with law enforcement, because the disruption of quality of life is something that we're not going to tolerate.
I'll get together with Eleanor to find out which properties these are and bring it to the manager's attention, and we'll move forward.
All right, thank you.
So this is the manager's sole discretion,
Yes.
and the manager can choose to reinstate this license also?
It's only, just so you understand, the suspension is for 6 months
Okay.
and the revocation's for a year. It's not permanent.
There's also an appellate process.
Yes.
That can be.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to approve 12.7.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Item passes.
Thank you.
On to item 12.8, correct?
Yes. It's an ordinance amending Chapter 2 Administration, Article 3 Supplemental Code Enforcement Procedures, Code Enforcement Citation Program, Section 2-58, Schedule of Code Enforcement Civil Fines and Penalties, to update the schedule of fines, amending Article 4 Code Enforcement at Section 2-72, Applicability, to update the list of chapters enforced by the Special Magistrate. This is a community development item. In short, this is a cleanup item, and we have a chart of fines. We found some individual fines in the code. We struck those sections out, and put them all in one place in the chart.
This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on this item?
Make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve, and I have a second from Commissioner Davis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. Item 12.9, please.
An ordinance amending chapters 5, 17, 20, 21, and 25 in order to amend all citations referencing certain monetary penalties or imprisonment to reflect Section 1-8 of the city's code, general penalty continuing violations as a public nuisance, and deleting obsolete provisions providing for conflict codification. This is also a community development item. In short, like the one before it, it's a cleanup. There is reference to having the city create a posse. We don't have posses, we have the BSO, a professional organization. So it's to remove these obsolete provisions from our code. And again, with the fines, it's a further cleanup on the fines section, but the fines are all contained in the prior ordinance.
Thank you, Eve. This is a public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? No posses? All right. Vice Mayor?
Make a motion to approve 12 point, what number is it? 12.9.
I have a motion to approve. Second from Commissioner James. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Okay, that's it with second readings. Now we're on to Section 13, discussion and possible action. 13.1 is an appointment of a director, alternate, and second alternate for the Broward League of Cities Board of Directors. Appointment of a director, alternate, and a second alternate. So we need 2 positions we're trying to fill here as a commission. 3? Oh, a director? Okay. Commissioner Davis?
I would like to continue my role as the director for the Broward League of Cities or on the executive board. Thank you.
Okay.
Nominate Commissioner Davis as director.
Okay, Commissioner Davis, we have you nominated as director. Anybody all in favor? Say aye. All right, Commissioner Davis is the director. Commissioner James?
I was gonna nominate, who wants to be the,
I always go.
alternate or the,
I'll be
what are the
I'll
two?
be the alternate.
Okay, you need two alternates?
Yeah.
Okay, so I nominate vice mayor as the alternate and the mayor as the second alternate.
Sounds good? All right. Wonderful.
Yeah, I will nominate.
So we have Commissioner Davis as the director, Vice Mayor Llewellyn as the alternate, and I will be the second alternate. Perfect. All right, on to item 13.2 for discussion and possible action. This is about 158 Federal Highway, and it's to designate the structure historic with Broward County, but there's also a lot more to it. We definitely want to put this on the agenda. So I'll give the commission an update with what I've been doing and the information that I have to share with you guys regarding this property. So we obviously know the historical significance from what you heard tonight. It's a house built by our founder, someone who donated the first two schools to Dania Beach, and obviously the family donated Frost Park to the city. So we can apply to designate this property as a historical structure with the county. But what the issue is we don't want to detriment the property itself. We want to preserve the house. That's what's important to us. And we can apply a historical designation to the house with the future location on the application as well. So that's a process we can go to. And once we get the historical designation, we can start the process. It takes several months. Once we get the designation, then it does open up for funding. For the property, whether it's restoration or, it could be refunding for when we move it. And I have an update with the current owners. They extended the time. We have an agreement drawn up for the end of the year, for the end of 2024. So that's about 9 months, right, that we have to raise money and to, come up with a solid concrete plan to preserve this house and to preserve our history and this historic property. So that's the plan that we can approach, I would say. And you can start the historical designation while we're in still the works of moving the property as well, because we all know how long it takes to get funds and appropriate funds for something like this, especially historical. Commissioner Salvino, you want some to add?
Yeah, if you're done, I just got some things to ask. I guess maybe you might answer them along the way. So, should I wait or?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to see the house saved. I think that along with that if you have the opportunity, since you got it extended to the end of the year, just some ideas that I have that I heard Mr. K speak earlier today about that the possibility of it not being $250, could be $100,000 to move the house. The contractor the owner of property seems to be pretty, liberal to help it out. There's a possibility maybe, you could talk to them and ask them if they would like to be a contributor as an owner, to maybe pay, whatever it's going to cost them to tear the house down, to contribute that or some of it towards that to move the house. If we could get maybe, I don't know what it's going to cost to move the house, $20,000 to move the house, $30,000, tear it down. But it costs them 40. Yeah, so $40,000 to tear it down. That's almost halfway there. Then you got Mr. Hankerson wanting to donate $1,000. There's now we're down to Now we're down to $58,000 left to go.
We got a $5,000 donation from the Historical Society.
Yeah, so I think in the next few months, honestly, I think you could probably hit enough people up around town that really want to contribute $1,000 or something like that. That you'll raise $100,000. The next step I feel that we need to do is come up with an answer where it's going to go, because then I've run into a couple of headbutts along the way where people do or do not want it. Some people don't want it at Frost Park. Some people don't want to cram it over here. That's a decision. I think that's going to be a hard decision if we accumulate the $100,000 and move it. As far as the renovation goes, it has to be designated, historical before you can get any grants for that. And I think that's something that we have time to also get the people that the president has brought in there and find out if this place is going to be regulated for historical grants, so that we are aware that it does. That it's going to be able to, we're able to get those. I know the county can provide some, I know maybe the state can provide some grants, but we have to make sure that it is considered historical. Instead of, because down the road, if we don't get these grants, then the city is going to be asked to put out another $1 million. And that could present a problem. I don't think that we're going to have a problem after we get done the other two. We could always work down the road, but it may be 3, 4, 5 years before it gets done. And then as far as the look goes, it goes back to the picture you brought, I think, on that with the opening and stuff. Is it going to go back to that original design, even though some of the stuff has been changed around? So, there's questions. But I mean, as far as going through, I think right now, if we have a place to put it and we have 6 months to raise the money, I think you can do it. I think it's just a matter of what comes next with the historical preservation, whether we're going to get grants or not, and so on, because I don't know how the commission would feel about putting another $1 million out. That's all. But I think that if you feel that we can get grants that you mentioned, I think it's a good possibility.
Yes, like I said, I think our community, what we see just from this meeting, we've already raised $6,000 just out of the community, and it is the responsibility of the city and the commission also to preserve our history. So I think we could certainly help out along the lines of preserving that property as well. It's not like we don't just choose one historical property over the other. We don't say, oh, we want to save the Nyberg Swanson house, let's get rid of our founder's house. They should all be very important to us. The history of Dania Beach. Same thing with the Women's Club too. The Women's Club doesn't even have an historical designation. We could work on an app. The library does? Okay. Well, we could work on obtaining more grants for that down the line too, since we're already at it with the county. So we're not neglecting anybody else to preserve this. This is just an opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity, I think, as a commission to preserve our history of the founder of Dania Beach. And like I mentioned before, this man donated 2 schools to the city, and then he has a prominent family. His great-granddaughter's in the crowd today, who's lived here her whole life. So it's very important to the city, and that's really what Dania Beach is. Dania Beach is an historical city. We're Broward's first city. We're originally in Dade County, and people recognize us for our historical significance, especially when they drive down US 1. So we're being progressive here when it comes to preserving this historical property while still growing and allowing for development on that valuable corner on Federal Highway, 158 South Federal Highway. Not to mention we bought the property right next to it. So we see the value, and we definitely want to work with the property owners as well. We don't want this to be a detriment to them, but we want to start the process. So basically what I'm asking the commission is to allow us to enter into an agreement for that 1 year to start, the real work of getting the house ready, getting ready to move, and then we can have further discussion on where we want to put it. Basically, it comes down to 2 spots from what I'm understanding is it's either Frost Park or it's next to the Women's Club. I don't know. I don't know if we've had any other designated areas that we've even considered, but at least I saw what you guys were asking for, a month ago, right? You guys were asking for time. I got us some time. So I'm asking for your help as a commission to work with us as a team to save this house, without breaking the piggy bank. But I think, $100,000 to $200,000 to move this property is very well within our means, and it's especially in the position that we are in the city right now, and it's definitely worth it. And it's momentous and it's monumental with us celebrating our 120th anniversary. If history doesn't mean anything to us, then why even celebrate 120th anniversary? We could just say, hey, we're a city. Vice Mayor?
So, look, I am, of course, in favor of trying to preserve history and save the founder's home, but there are questions, and you can't ignore those questions. I have concerns about it going next to the Women's Club, because I do think it is a tight space there, and I know that the people at the Women's Club are not happy about the idea of it being moved there. But Frost Park is also a problem because we have a Parks Master Plan in place that has been approved for years now, and there is not a plan to put a house there. So now we're talking about revising the Parks Master Plan that we've approved and we've been trying to move along all this time. That's a problem because now that's going to shift that into a different realm. And it is a problem because we start doing that. I mean, we've already had an issue with CW Thomas Park where we had to scale back because of costs. Now we're being asked to change again. And then who's to say we're not going to have the same thing with PJ Mealy? So I have concerns about that. That's one. The other concern is, I think it's great, number one, that you got the extra time. I'm all for that. And quite frankly, I think in that extra amount of time, you can absolutely go and raise money. I agree with Commissioner Salvino. You can just go around and ask a bunch of people in town and you're going to get donations. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I'll help y'all raise the money. I'll go out there and fundraise with you. I'm absolutely happy to do that. My concern, though, is that this property is not ours. The house is on a property that is not ours. If you start moving through the process of having it declared historical, it will change the value of that property. And this property owner has already indicated that they're trying to sell that property. I have legal concerns about that perhaps Eve can speak to, but we've talked about Bert J. Harris Act many times about a number of things, and this strikes me as a clear taking.
I've spoken to the mayor about this, Bert J. Harris would be of something to be concerned with for it being in this location. I understand that the property is not being designated, it's the structure itself, but if we don't take title and if we don't move the structure, then the property owner would be straddled with this designation. Right. And that could affect the property value, which is what the mayor was talking about early on about his concern. So it may be prudent to wait until we have gathered the money and able to move it before doing that designation. 6 months we have until December, which is basically 6 months from now, 7 months from now. I don't think in that time period you'd be able to get through any kind of grant process efficiently. Mm-hmm. So you could still, work on the grant application, have everything ready to go. Broward County, I spoke with their resource officer at the Historic Division. They've never taken an application that has been objected to before by the property owner. So they have to give notice to the property owner, and the property owner would have to agree to the designation. I don't know that they would or would not. I have not spoken to them, but that would be a requirement. If they agree to it, hey, move forward, because then they've acquiesced to the lessening of the value. If they would object, though, that would be problematic.
Right, and that was my concern. So I think, number one, we need to truly come up with a location where this would need to go, number one, that we can all agree on, or at least get consensus for. That's not going to disrupt all the other things that we have in process right now. There's a lot of things that have been going on for many years, including this master plan, the Parks Master Plan, which does concern me tremendously, that we would be stopping and starting over again. If we can come up with something, and I know that city manager, deputy city manager did look into different locations. Maybe there is another one that we can consider. I don't know, but I'd like to get something that is not going to create more issues for us overall first, and then in that time also raise money to do this, and then like you said, 7-8 months we've got here. So that, it seems to me like that's something that we could do within that time period, and then move it and then go through the designation. That's just my suggestions.
Anybody else? Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Mayor. I am grateful on one hand that you truly did get the time, because that is one of the things that I was feeling rushed and it was feeling pressed that we hurry up and do this right now. So for me, time was a very significant factor in this whole decision. Also, I did ask for a short-term and a long-term plan. And so, again, the number one thing is, where is it going to go? That should be decided by this commission, where it's going to go. I did do my due diligence with speaking to the members of the Women's Club and different people who were not in favor of putting it in that tight space. It seems very cramped. There's no parking. There's a lot of different issues with the Women's Club. I also spoke to members of the Historical Society and said, let's really kind of, get a plan here and show what the plan is, not just to save the house and put money into saving the house. How is this house going to benefit the community and the members at large? What is the longer term plan for what we're going to do and how we're going to make sure that this house is going to serve all of the community once we save it. So I was looking for a little bit more as far as details are concerned with the house. Again, I'm grateful for the time, but where is it going to go? I do share the concerns about the Frost Park. In general terms, it seems okay. The Frost house goes in the Frost Park. That makes sense to me. I like that. That sounds good until you look into the details of how much planning and went into the park's master plan. And so that becomes a little bit more problematic because we do have a plan that's in place for the Frost Park, and how are we going to rectify that? The other thing is we've been waiting years for the Nyberg Swanson House and the Women's Club to start that process. We've been waiting years for the C.W. Thomas Park to get started, to get a shovel in the ground. Commissioner James asks every day, when's it going to happen? So whenever we do move this house, it is a boarded up house. Where is it going to go, and how long is it going to sit there before we get to it? And so I want all of those things to be fleshed out a little bit more, but I am willing to work and I'm willing to compromise because we do have the time to be able to do that. And so if we can take this time up until the end of the year that we have, that means it'll stay there until December, and we have some time to figure all of that out, then I'm willing to go ahead with that part of the plan, because we're not committing something definite to it. Unless within the contract, Eve, if we're saying we're going to enter into this contract, then we're committing to moving it somewhere. Is that correct?
I can always revise a letter that we're trying to work on that, and that you're giving us the 8 months to do so.
That's what I would be comfortable with doing. That's what I would be comfortable with doing, and seeing, let's bring the details more. I'm detail oriented, and so I just want to see all of that figured out, because people, the community's been waiting for a lot of different other historical sites to get started on, and I don't want that house to just sit there boarded up somewhere for 5 years waiting for to be renovated and preserved. I believe, and I'm very excited about the city's 120th anniversary, and I believe that this is Broward's first city, and so we need to do what we can to try to preserve that history. But I want to do it in a way that's clear, that's concise, and that has a true plan of what that's going to be, because we already have seen and have witnessed and are currently experiencing properties that we're and master plans that we're working on that literally take years to come to fruition, to even begin. So I want all of that kind to be addressed, but I'm willing to give you time to the to the end of the year, whatever, to let's figure that out, and let's come back with something more solid. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you. And so Commissioner Davis kind of touched base on a few of the comments that were stated earlier, especially about like the ARPA monies and how long it's taken for us to do that. Government takes a long time. I just want you all to know that. Like, I've been working on this C.W. Thomas plan since 2017, just for reference for everyone out there. And so government takes a long time. To go through different agencies takes a long time. We did a groundbreaking a couple of years ago for C.W. Thomas Park, and it's just gotten really approved tonight. I also just want to say for the record, I was not involved in any of, when you all went and visited the house with big groups. I did go and I had a very different experience. It did not smell, but it was not pristine, in my opinion, of it. And so, I don't know, I wish I had the same experience that you all had. I ran through that thing because it was dark, there's no electricity, it was scary for me. I was like, get me out of here, Candy. It was scary for me, but back to it, for me, it's all or nothing. I think that we can't take bits and parts of what we want to do. I think we have to make a hard decision on whether or not we are going to do all of it, because we can't just say, let's just move it first and figure everything else out. Because right now, even taking off the monies to move it, we're talking about by the time we come for restoration, it's going to be more monies than just the $1 million. We are seeing that with every single project. We are seeing that with everything that's coming to us and asking for contingencies, and not even the just contingencies, the change orders beforehand. And so we need to factor in inflation. We have no idea where the economy is going. We just, we're talking about grants, but we're talking about the Griffin Marine Boat Park that, we're hoping to get a $750,000 grant, but the city is paying $1.5 million for that project alone. And that's something that kind of just came up because it was an issue with it. And so we really have to look at, we're saying, okay, we're in great financial position, but we also had a 1,000-year flood. We also get hurricanes, and we haven't had a significant one in years. And so we also have to worry about that. We also have drainage improvements that, since I was elected in 2016, we still have not hit the ground because of rising costs. And so I think that we have to decide if we're going to do it. We can't decide we're gonna move it and chip off the block here for just the move, but we have to be ready just in case we don't get those grants, that we are going to use our taxpayers' dollars for this. Yes or no, I just think that's a decision that we have to make. Location has to be the absolute first thing that we come up with before we even think about a contract or anything else. I mean, I have not seen a park with a house on it. I just have not, and I understand the significance of it, but I'm trying to figure out how that even factors into the park and how that limits it, because that would be probably one of our baseball parks or soccer parks, and how that factors in it and how it limits the campus of the designs that we saw for that community as well. And so I'm here for the extra time, but I think within that extra time, we have to come up with a location first. I don't know how you want to do it, Mayor, but that's how we have to come up with the location. And once we come up with the location, we have to be willing to accept all of the risks that come with it, because these are a lot of maybes. Maybe we'll raise the money. Maybe we'll get the grants. Maybe we'll get this, that, or the third. We have no idea what we're going into. It's not our property. And Mr. K, if you're giving out money, I can give you my phone number. I accept some of that money. But Mayor, if we can come up with a location, I will be way more comfortable in really trying to decide instead of kind of piecemealing this together.
Okay, so first, can I get consensus from the commission to enter into an agreement just for them not to demolish the house for the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay. That's great. We're making progress. So, yeah. But let's discuss the location right now since we're on the topic, okay? So, no. You have to press the thing, but hold on, let me talk, all right? When it comes to the where we're trying to talk about location, right? Okay, Frost Park, I understand. It does throw a wrench in the master plan that we have, but we've seen that with C.W. Thomas Park of how many changes you have to make. But I think next to the Women's Club is a valid location because we're going to tear down that building. What is it? It was the old fire chief's office. We're going to tear down the old fire chief's office, and I think that's going to allow some room next to the Women's Club, and it's not going to be as cramped. It's not going to be 3 buildings back to back to back. But that park it's really like our pioneer historical park. It has the Women's Club, it has Nyberg Swanson, and then it would have our founder, Andrew Christian Frost's house. And there is parking on the street, and then you have parking at the city parking lot. We're probably going to put 2 stories on it. Who knows? But we're going to have room for that park. And it is, I understand it's a little crammed, but it makes sense from a community perspective, right? You're preserving the history of your community, and you're actually adding a little more character to that downtown park. And that's what I want people to ask later down the line. I want them to ask, why is that house there? How'd the Nyberg Swanson house get there? And how did the A.C. Frost house get there? Who helped build the Women's Club? And those are important questions that we could provide answers to our future generations that live here in Dania. And even people that have lived in Dania for 20, 30 years don't know much about our history. A lot of people don't know that that's the A.C. Frost house. It has no designation to it. So I feel like it would be good of us to be good stewards and save that house, but I want to talk about a location. And I am thinking that the location next to the Women's Club was measured out, and then we measured out how we can move the house to it, and I think that's a valid location for it. Commissioner Salvino?
Thank you, Mayor. Either or of those 2 that you talk about, there's going to be an issue with somebody up on this commission, and there's going to be a problem with the residents as well, and the Women's Club, and other residents that live over there and so on. The only thing I was going to say is that does it have to be those 2 spots? What I was going to ask is, since we're moving this item forward to work on it, maybe we could. I've never even thought about moving it anywhere else, or where it was going to be, because I really thought in the beginning that when we started talking about it, it was going to go next to the Women's Club. I'd like to do a little bit of research now that we're talking about, the space, you're talking about the building that's coming down. I knew all that was there. And, in general, the thought of it being there is okay with me, because then you have like a historical area with all the houses and stuff that are there. But also it could be, as Commissioner Davis said, it could be cramped. There's no parking and stuff. So there's things I want to ask about that. Put it over on Frost Park, is okay too. But now we have a master plan, and I hate to start all over with the master plan, and I just like to move forward with it. And I have an issue with that, because I just don't want to make room for something over there and create another $100,000 or $200,000 worth of changes in the master plan that now the price goes up. You see what I'm saying? So that's that. But is there another option around close by? Is there another lot that we can buy for $150,000 or $200,000 down here on First Avenue or First Street or somewhere? Just to look around. There's a lot right here by the church. Is it for sale? And right here next on First, right across from the Fish Grill, behind the warehouse that they have the. But that's still, and it's still going to be near our downtown district. So there's little things like that I would like to look at, and maybe offer back to you, Mayor, or the commission, and it may be simple, because that's almost across the street if it's for sale. So there's just little things I want to look at that still stays in the downtown district as we grow. But I'm not opposed to anything. I'm just looking for, now that we've got the time that might be for us to be able to offer some options.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner
If I may,
Salvino.
through the mayor, perhaps for our meeting in May, that'll give us a little time. We can bring back to you some options. We'll take a look at all the properties that the city owns or the CRA owns. we also want to look at where we're suggesting now that would be where the Nybrook Swanson is and the women's club, but not necessarily where we had first measured, because now that we have time and we're able to center it, you know, here's Nyberg and here's the women's club, and kind of center it here in the middle and kind of create a future Pioneers Park, that would make a whole lot more sense. We don't ever want to remove green space, particularly in a park that has an adopted parks master plan. But create this art, entertainment, cultural, and historical area in the core here, which is the epicenter here of our city. So if you allow us to come back in the May meeting, I want to take some additional measurements now, because the EOC is going to be built, and that little building that's there now, it's going to be demolished. So this time gives us an opportunity to look at a bigger vision and be able to bring you more details at the meeting in May, if you would be okay with that.
Thank you, Manager. Commissioner James?
Yes, that's what I was going to ask. I'm a visual person, and so I would want to see, with knocking down where the firehouse is now, how much green space we would have there as well with it, and what the spacing arrangements would look like. How big is the new ELC going to be? We are a growing city, so I really hope we don't just put ourselves in a little box. But understanding that campus and all of those moving parts, I can maybe see a vision. It does make sense to go there, but when I drove by, I almost felt like I can touch both buildings standing outside in the middle, and I don't want to feel like that either. But if there were enough space, I mean, if we're going to in the future add 2 levels to the garage, then that can serve as the parking situation. But other than that, I would want, that's what I would want to see first and foremost. I don't want to just stick it somewhere else, the city-owned properties. What I don't want to have is just an outlier of the city where it doesn't make sense for it to go other places that, you know, just in the middle of a residential area, just put the Frost House right there. It just doesn't make sense like that to me, because we have an empty lot. And so if that can work, maybe we can start there, but I would really need to see some type of a drawing, even if it's a sketch.
If I may, through the mayor, we were able to get federal funding, so we are in the design phase right now of the city's, you know, first ever EOC building, and that still remains what we would recommend as the place, but not in the current location right smack behind the women's club, where the women's club will look like a little hood ornament, you know, but kind of shift it and centralize it. And we will be able to work up a sketch at a minimum investment, because to be able to show the vision of where the EOC would be and how the AC Frost House would fall in between these 2 historic properties as well.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
I'm sorry, I've been dying to add to that, because I was going to say, could we get some sort of a design that actually almost shows like a 3D version of it that's not going to cost us a fortune like a design thing would? Because I'd like to see, because that's a taller building too, because of the steps on the side and the whole thing. So I still have some concerns about it because of the other buildings that are there. And that's why I would like to I'd like to see it in its full size.
Yes, and you know, we're very good at asking people for things. So I think that we can work with South Michelson, which is a local architectural firm. I think everybody here is very visual, because we approved a couple of projects with them, and so we'll be able to bring you a visual with the dimensions and a sketch for your perusal.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Grenette.
I just want to say, Joanna Grenette, 450 Southeast 7th Street. I actually went to the Water Matters Broward County at Treetops Park event, and walking around there, which is an absolute great event, by the way, walking around there, I actually saw Giano, who is the CRA doing the
Giordano. Calvin Giordano.
Okay, and I spoke to him we were talking about the AC Frost House. I showed him the picture and he thought it was absolutely fantastic. And of course, he has vision, and he was looking for a hook, and he said that could be a hook. So I definitely ask him to put that into, I know he said he's going to meet in here April.
We do.
So maybe
As I
you could.
updated the commission, I've asked the CRA director to set up a meeting with myself and the deputy manager, because we want to work on a timeline. Because as you see, things take time, but not because of us, but because of the processes from procurement to working with different agencies. But yeah, we have several options in regards to being able to bring what the city commission has asked me to bring forward.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I met him and he said he would put it into a plan if you wanted to. So thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanna. Vice Mayor?
Just one more thing. Something else that I just think, and I would hope that everybody would agree with this, that I don't want this particular building to take precedence over Nyberg Swanson and the Women's Club, because they've both been in the queue for a very long time. And it's, we're just now past the money for Nyberg Swanson. I know the Women's Club is next after that. So I would like to make sure that that's still going to be the case. That's all. If we can find a suitable place.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yeah, to add to that, we certainly don't want this to take precedence over the Nyberg Swanson House or the Women's Club. But from a historical standpoint and from an architectural standpoint, it's a much more important structure in our city. It really is. The Nyberg Swanson House is going to be taken care of. My great-grandmother was one of the reasons why the Women's Club was built in 1935. So I have deep roots and deep ties to that as well. But the Women's Club is a different type of architectural style than the Nyberg Swanson House and the Frost House. Those are both built in a particular way with the rusticated brick and the porch in Dade County Pine. The Women's Club was built for the Women's Club. So this, like I said, this is a very important structure in the city, and it comes across us. I didn't know this was going to come across my desk as mayor, okay? But it just so happens that it does, and I really thank you guys for your thoughts on this, staff too, and the commission, for giving this forward thought and the best approach that we could take to try and preserve this house and preserve the history of the city. So thank you very much. Commissioner Davis. Thank you, guys.
That did bring up, thank you, Mayor, that brought up my other point that I was thinking about. And again, we're just gonna say it for the record, not before the Women's Club and the Nyberg Swanson, but where does it then go in our queue of things to do? So that is another concern. We got the location. I think we're moving forward, and maybe we don't, figure it all out tonight, but that's where my mind goes, is then where in all of the things that we are doing, I do know that we have the stormwater master plan, all these different things, then we need to think about, how this is prioritized over some of the other projects and some of the, we've had these unnamed storms, we've had these things that have really affected our communities in a lot of different ways, and we're investing in them. So I want to maybe step 2 or next think about exactly how we prioritize where this is going to go on our list of priorities. But I don't want to see certain things as far as our stormwater and drainage and different things that are affecting our communities right now be pushed back necessarily either, because these are things that that definitely need to be prioritized. When we had the budget meeting, we said that the flooding issues were our #1 priority, and really trying to safety and the stormwater drainage projects and different things that we were going to prioritize first. So just thinking about that next, I'm just glad we got the location down. We just take the win for tonight and move back, move forward with that. But that was one of the things that I always was thinking about, is where in this do we fit do we fit this restoration in the queue? If you guys get grant money and all that kind of stuff and it comes through, that's great, but I really want to make sure that we have that conversation as well. But I'm willing to move forward with where we are now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. To speak on your point, you're right. We don't want this to take precedence over anything that we already have in the queue right now. It's just once this house is torn down, that's it. It's not coming back. So if we do move it and say it sits there for a year or two, I think we could live with that. I think the community can live with that. You know, Nyberg Swanson House has been sitting there for like 12 years. So I think we could definitely, yeah, if we preserve the house, it's, you know, it's 112-year-old house. So if we preserve the house and move it, and then, you know, waterproof it, it's already waterproofed. It doesn't have water damage to it. You know, just make sure we preserve it a little bit. Then, yeah, we can come up with a plan down the line. I know we don't have to move right away, but we really can give this a little bit of time once we move it to a secured, you know, agreed upon location in the city. So, yes, I don't want it to take precedence over stormwater or, you know, restoration of our other historical properties, but that money's already allocated for. So, you know, with us expanding the timeline on this, we're putting ourselves in 2 fiscal years. So we could definitely find the room, I think, in 2 fiscal years, you know, and at least to offset whatever, you know, loans or donations that we receive as well. Vice Mayor?
I was just gonna say the Historic Society has a solid 7 months to go ahead and start fundraising. So I'm expecting to start seeing emails and whatnot. I said I'll help you, but you need to be the ones to get it going.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
So that's all. I'm just saying that you got plenty of time for that. So if you can come up with the money, then it maybe won't even have to impact anything that we're doing. But you know, I just don't think it should be on us. But regardless, you know, you've got time.
I hear you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. It is on us as a commission, though. It really is. This is our responsibility to preserve the integrity and character of our city. And thank you, Historical Society, for donating $5,000. We do appreciate you getting that going. So, all right, we have agreement for that. Thank you, and thank you guys for your thoughtful consideration and your discussion regarding this matter that's before us. All right, and thank you all for being here still. On to item 13.3. This is a request to use the city seal on a uniform versus city logo. So yeah, I brought this forward. I ordered some shirts, and I wanted to get our seal on the shirt, but I think the commission passed something in 2018 that you need approval in order to put the seal on a shirt. So I was looking for consensus.
You're looking for the city seal, not the logo.
This right here, the city seal. Yeah.
Oh no, this you can do. This you can do. I thought you meant the old city seal.
Well, then why is this even on the agenda?
Okay, then I apologize. I
Without the see it, live and love it. Just to see.
No, just this. This is what I want on a t-shirt. I think the commission would like it too.
So.
Well, do I have approval? I don't know. Commissioner Davis?
No, because I was
Go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
and stop interrupting me. Thank you. All right, so I understood that there are branding guidelines that we need to have. And so when we can use the logo, so I want to make sure that it is in alignment in what we said when we use the logo for whatever. I was told that you have to meet the branding guidelines and all these different things. I'm personally fine with you doing that, but it's not according to the branding guidelines, and I want to make sure that we're consistent with using the branding guidelines. So, I was told that you had to have certain things in order to be able to use that legally when I wanted to alter the logo and use something that I wanted to use it for. So I want to make sure that we're being consistent across the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just to be clear, I don't want to alter it at all. I just want to keep it how it is and just slap it on a shirt. Commissioner James?
looking on the shirt. I looked at the backup for this item. The backup for this item still talks about being able to use the RISE logo. I know we had a conversation with that several years ago that we said we would no longer use the RISE logo. So I don't know if the guidelines need to be updated.
The RISE logo,
So I
you-
was confused.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, I'll finish.
Go ahead, I done lost my train of thought.
I just want to let you know, we did amend the guidelines about using the logo, the RISE logo and where it could be done. So it couldn't be in place of the Dania Beach logo. It had to be on the other pocket if it was going to be used. That's what you all approved last year.
Oh. Oh.
What are the branding guidelines as far as?
I don't wanna
Commissioner
interrupt.
Davis. Nah, y'all gonna let me. Get him, Marco.
Yeah,
Tell her.
I guess we need
Tell
to
her.
clarify this anyways, you know?
Yeah, I think we need to look back into it. Personally, it was my understanding when we went through all of this about where we were going to use this seal, it was supposed to be for official city documents and business things of that nature. Are we just making an exception for you, Mayor, or are we changing?
No, it's for the commission.
Well, I can't have that because my logo is not going to be as big as your logo, and then you're not going to be able to see established in 1904. It's going to look like little scribble scrabbles under there, so it doesn't make sense. It's going to look ugly on a woman's apparel because even now, I don't have that big 5-inch D on my shirts. You know, I have the little cute small ones, and so that doesn't even work for the women's apparel. I just don't want to set a precedent. And I mean, we've done that before. We've kind of cleaned that up. What's funny? Because the logos, we're not going to be. I'm just saying. I think that we have to be very careful when we're talking about the seal of something, and we have to really look back into what the brand guidelines are. And I just think that we should follow them. So I don't know. I'll have to leave that up to the city attorney.
Okay, so I had asked him to put it on the agenda because I thought it was, using the seal was not authorized by the city commission. The city commission had established a standard for using the logo on uniforms, et cetera, which is what was attached here. As far as the branding guidelines for See It, Live It, Love It with the Dania Beach D, there are guidelines for that. You cannot change the See It, Live It, Love It to other phrases. And the D either has to be in black and white or those colors, no other shapes, no other designs. This is, what we're looking up here though, is the city seal now. I didn't realize that the city seal was the city, I thought it was the old one on our letterhead. I didn't realize it was this. So you have to make a decision whether you want to allow the use or not. And if you do, we have to modify our guidelines or our policy. Just take a vote, whether you want to do it or not.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I feel like we've been talking about the logo and the seal and whatnot forever. And changing it, making individual changes to it, I feel like is gonna end up, we're going backwards now. Aren't we? I mean,
I'm not trying to change it. I just want to wear this.
no, I know, but we had a whole big discussion about this the last time when we did the branding guidelines, and that's why I'm saying I feel like we're going backwards. So if we made a decision, whether I agree with that decision or not, bottom line is that it was a decision that was made, and now I feel like we're going backwards again. So I don't know that I can do that. I think we went through this discussion already. It's already been decided, and I kind of feel like we need to stick with that. So.
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's all.
All right, we want to call it to a vote? Yeah, there's no motion. It's all right. Let it die. I'm sorry. I just find it strange that we can't wear our seal on our clothing, and we're commissioners of our city. It's very strange. I don't know. you know, you see a lot of other cities around, they have their logo, they have their seals. It's a nice circle. You know, I have nothing wrong with our, what is that, logo. I have nothing wrong with our logo. It's the same thing. It's a big D there, and it's a big D there. You know, that one says Dania Beach on the bottom, that says it up top, in both 1904. So I just, all right, so I can't put it on my shirt. Thank you, guys. Is that it? All right. All right, we'll move on. Jeez. For appointments, there's none. And we'll start with commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to keep this brief as possible. We did have a great presentation from our school board member, Mr. Foganholy, and as well Principal Giancarli. We have been able to do a lot with the community, and the principal has really stepped up the game and really put new if you haven't been over to Olson Middle lately, she's really truly revamped the outside and a lot of the inside of the school. She really wants to be able to have an 8th grade promotional ceremony, which is almost 700 kids, their parents, and really wants to have a celebration. This is her first year. This group of kids is very special to her, and as well as it should be to all of us. And she has worked with and talked to and connected with the Marriott Hotel, the general manager there, who is willing to cover 75% of the cost for a promotional ceremony at Dania Point for everyone to be able to attend. They can have the free parking, and they've even discounted the parking all the way down to $5 per car. So with the 75% that they are covering and donating, that 25% would be left, and I'm asking permission or consensus from the commission to be able to cover the other 25%, which would be about $4,500. So, I don't know how much, do I have consensus, or do you, Commissioner James, do you have, she wants to know how much is in our commission contingency. I'm sure we have 4,500.
Hi, Frank. He's like, he thought he was done. Frank is tired. Well, put my watch on. I need some extra steps.
How you guys doing? What was the question? I heard contingency.
How much money is in the commission contingency fund?
I don't have the spreadsheet in front of me, but how much are you looking to spend?
4,500.
For the commission contingency? Yeah, you haven't.
It might be less than that, but it's 4,000 or 3,900 without the taxes. So whatever that amount is, I rounded it up to 4,500, but it's 3,900 before taxes.
I'm okay with the commission contingency if you all are.
All right, consensus. Thank you. Thank you so much for supporting our schools and the promotion of Olson Middle School 8th graders. For my personal contingency, I want to do $250 to support one of the less fortunate students to be able to attend their 8th grade field trip. So can I have permission for that, consensus for that? Okay, 250, nobody has a problem, 250, okay. All right, and with that, I am going to close my comments because it's late. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner James?
Yes, thank you. The iftar dinner was very exciting to be a part of. Went with a few of my colleagues, and we learned a lot about the traditions of different cultures and their foods and their processes. And so thank you all for joining together and breaking bread and celebrating different walks of life and faith. I did listen to the Broward County Public Schools workshop that Fogan Holy, School Board Member Fogan Holy was speaking about. They really don't have a lot of direction over what they want to do. I think that we were all expecting to hear those names of those schools at that meeting. I think it is going to be more than 5 schools, in my personal opinion, from listening to those workshops. And so I would urge you all to continue to advocate. If you're not, start advocating for our schools here in Dania Beach, because one of the things that they said that they are looking at is, the engagement from both the elected officials and the community. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm having these 2 workshops. And so if you're still out there, please come to both of those. I did attend a wreath making class at C.W. Thomas Park. It was very cute. And I've asked the park staff to start putting those events on our calendars as commissioners, so we can stop by and whatever kind of programming that you have, that we can be a part of that and that as well. And last but not least, happy Easter.
Thank you, Commissioner James. Commissioner Salvino?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to get permission to take $5,000 out of the commission contingency fund for the MAS fund. Marco Anthony Salvino, I'm just joking with you guys. Okay. Okay, Mayor, I'm just trying to lighten things up. It's getting late. No, I would like to take out of my personal contingency. Prestige Club that does the children's ethics program is also going to sponsor for Collins Elementary 65th anniversary, and they want to give I think around 600 bags of special popcorn out. So that's like $500. So I was looking to see if I could give that on my contingency to give the kids at Collins Elementary that money. Is that okay? That's all.
6,500.
No, 500.
Oh, okay.
500. 6,500 was for me. Anyhow, that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I'm going to be the one talking a lot.
Vice Mayor?
Oh, I'm not. I'm going to try to make it as quickly as I speak quickly, so it'll go fast. I first of all want to thank all of my colleagues for passing those ordinances that I sponsored. There is one more that we withdrew. It may come back. We're going to see what we can do with that. Big shout out to Eve, who has spent a lot of time working with me, working with BSO, BSO Legal, trying to make sure that we were doing the right things with this, and I really do appreciate it. Number 2, that homeless outreach story that Lieutenant Cooper brought to us earlier. I can tell you that we've talked about this before and how frustrating that job can be for our deputies that are doing the homeless outreach. But to have something like this happen, it makes all the difference in the world. And in fact, one of them even said to me, this is the reason why I wanted to do this in the first place, is for stories like this. So that one story makes a huge difference, and it definitely changes an outlook. So even when they're frustrated, they know that this is what's going to happen. And I just give them kudos as well for everything that they did with this situation. Attended the Collins 65th anniversary parade and event, and it was lovely. It was wonderful. We all wore our T-shirts, which was a lot of fun. We were all part of the team, and it got me thinking about other anniversaries that I completely forgot to mention the last time. Our city manager has been with us for 5 years. So I wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that and all the great work that she's been doing for us. Lastly, quick, told you to be quick. I haven't asked for my contingency funds. I was approached by the Coast Guard Auxiliary, who is, they do boat safety classes. They need a space for it. Every place that they go to try to get a space, it costs money, and they're an auxiliary. It's, they don't have a lot of money to spend on something like this. They would like to do it at Frost Park at our building. There's a $200 deposit that they're willing to pay. But because of the fact that it is on a weekend, there's a discount that would normally apply to nonprofits, but it doesn't apply because it's on the weekend. It's on off hours, on peak times. So therefore, they have these 5 classes that start in April and go into November. And it is $600 per day because it's 8-hour classes. So in total, it would be $3,000 that I would need for my contingency to pay for their fees. Sure?
You have
Okay.
consensus.
I have consensus. They already have held them for me. So just in the off chance that you all would say yes. Okay, and that's all I have. Thank you. Happy Easter.
All right, thank you, everybody. Go Olsen Vikings, go Dania Beach Dolphins, go Collins Tigers on their 65th anniversary. Happy Easter, everybody. Take care.